What is up, everybody? I can never tell if it's when we're actually recording or if it's the topic in this situation that has us feeling a little buzz about this. Normally we record Friday nights. We're coming off a work week and everything. I feel like we still bring the energy because we're like, this is what takes us into the weekend. But there's something about a Sunday afternoon recording that hits a little bit different.
Yeah, we've pushed everything from the week away. We got a little bit of time on a Saturday to kind of relax and reset our minds. But this one was just so much fun to study.
That's the whole point. I think on this one specifically, even after studying through the week like we normally do, having that info dump and then come along Friday and being like, oh, this information isn't coming out. But then having that in our heads on Saturday, especially this one and some of the stuff we're going to talk about, just trying to work through it in your head with how this stuff could have, transpired. It makes you come up with some crazy shit.
Well, yeah, and this is our second heist episode. This was actually supposed to be our first heist episode, but we realized that the Millennium Diamond Heist documentary was going to be coming out, so we tried to pair it with that, so we pushed Antwerp back.
Also, how do you say no to a construction equipment going through the side of a side of a building?
So we let this simmer for a little bit. A couple things have happened. We had the Louvre break-in. It was very cool to kind of see a caper happen when you're focused on it instead of just looking back at history.
We don't have enough capers.
No, and especially ones like this where nobody was hurt. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what makes this fun, and we talked about it. Nobody was injured in this whole entire thing.
I think it also, I'm glad we did the Millennium Diamond Heist first, because the comparison between these two is, it's literally, this is how amateurs handled it. This is how professionals handle it. And I think if we hadn't done that one first and explained like, oh yeah, they decided to actually take it was a JBL?
Yes.
Backhoe, or what did they call it?
Oh, I forgot.
It's just the one with the dump on the front, but charge it through the construction site at the Millennium Dome into the side of it and into the diamond exhibit. It's very loud. A lot of people could have got hurt during this. They also had a history of trying to rob armored cars, and not in a subtle way.
No. And
now the reason this one is so fascinating is because it's so quiet and meticulous, and Ocean's 11 was based off this, I think, is where they got a lot of their...
There's no way that they couldn't have seen some of this just because it matches up so closely.
Yeah.
But we're looking at a Millennium Diamond Heist, just the most ham-fisted approach that you could. And
smash and grab. Yep. Little smash and grab.
On like the largest scale that you could possibly give. Mm-hmm. And then you have the School of Turin, who's playing chess. It's so well thought out and so well planned that it's incredible. They really were only free from this for about a week afterwards.
It's crazy that the time frame of them, from time that it happened to time of being around, and most of the crew, like there is going to be a lot of maybes and what ifs in this episode, because the information is coming from the guy who did it, essentially was the mastermind behind it, or maybe wasn't the mastermind behind it. And then you're getting also the details from the investigators who are doing it, who are sitting there like, we technically don't know how they did this. He then says how they did it, and they're like, bullshit.
It's the sign of a good criminal to not give up what you did after it already happened. Like the Diamond Heist guy, the Millennium Diamond Heist guys were like, yeah, this is what we did. It seems pretty stupid. This guy was making sure that in case he had a couple more capers under his belt for later on after he gets out of prison, he wasn't going to give up too much.
But was also able to explain it in a way that they couldn't say 100% for certain that he couldn't have done it that way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Before we jump into the Antwerp Diamond Heist, remember... 5-star rating, please, is absolutely great. Reviews, we love reading them, love getting them back, love hearing from you guys. We crossed over the 20,000 subscribers on Spotify.
We're almost up to 21,000 at this point.
Yeah, and we're still cruising. So keep hitting that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. It does a world of good in the algorithms.
Which is probably weird because, again, we mix up the order of these episodes
so much.
So there could be an episode coming out where we're like, hey, we're almost at 21,000. And then 2 weeks later, it's like, hey, guys, we just hit 20,000.
Well, and there's a great chance, too, that the Louvre being the impetus to come back to a caper and a heist, guys from the Louvre are probably already caught by now.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, without making you wait any further, let's get into the heist of the century. Okay, well, we gotta explain where this is all going down and why Antwerp is the diamond capital of the world.
I think this is the first time we get to talk about Antwerp separate from a war.
Rather than who's trying to fight over it.
Yeah. We've talked about Belgium a lot just in this podcast because they were kind of the linchpin that brought England into World War II, correct?
Yeah, the Benelux countries.
Yeah, and so now we get to talk about something separate of war, but just so cool. This takes place in Antwerp, Belgium. It turns out that Antwerp is actually the second largest port in Europe behind Rotterdam, which, again, you would, in my mind, I would think England would have to have the biggest port because they're an island, right?
Yeah.
But the second biggest port in Europe is in Antwerp, Belgium.
I'm gonna tangent this for a second. England is probably it's either only sending out or only bringing in what England can hold.
Oh, fair. And this is all of Europe.
And this is all of Europe. And I think the reason when you were saying second largest Rotterdam is also, I believe, kind of inland off a river or a little bit tucked in. I was thinking for a second, like, why wouldn't the major port be like somewhere in France, Spain, Portugal, where it's right there?
Yeah.
If you can get things further inland by ship, Antwerp is a little bit tucked into Belgium. It's not like way down a river or anything, but it's in the back of a little bay. That stuff is already more centrally located to then have to just go out on trucks. So you're just trying to save your money to get it as far as you can on the boat.
Now try to explain to me how Antwerp, Belgium is the diamond capital of the world.
Okay, so this kind of dates back, I guess, to the 15th century.
Yep.
And there somehow just became a collection of this expertise in diamond cutting and polishing.
I got it.
Okay.
1475, a Flemish Jew named Lodewijk van Berken invents something called the scaife. The scaife is a polishing wheel that's infused with diamond dust and olive oil, and it's used to cut, shape, and polish diamonds. Looking at these, the best thing that I could probably equate it to would be like a record player, where it has the stylus that you would attach the diamond to. It has a spinning plate that's infused with this olive oil and diamond dust, and then you're just setting it down on top to grind away or make cuts into these diamonds to shape them.
100%, because back then it's not like you can we're used to like saw blades now that are diamond coated, things like that. You can work those sideways because it's imbued with whatever coating is on it. This is just literally a guy on a spinning wheel that is pouring olive oil or has it on a rag and then sprinkling diamond dust on this thing to then just sit there and grind down a stone.
Yeah, and he actually invents what's called the world's first briolet cut diamond because this wheel enables such fast and accurate cuts that just weren't possible before.
This is cotton gin shit. This is why there's a collection of like, it's just a guy that happened to invent the thing that did that, and then it becomes this. The thing didn't get sent somewhere else. He just became famous for the diamond polishing, probably wasn't explaining how he was doing it, so people were having to bring them all to him, and then it just, expands out from there.
He's teaching other people how to do this. He's selling these scaifes to other people, and instead of taking that back home, if you have a collection of these artisans that know how to shape and use these things properly, you're just producing diamonds.
He's like, you got to stay in my building.
Exactly, yeah. I'll sell one to you, and I will rent you an office space that you have to use it out of. A majority of the diamond sellers, the jewelers that are in Antwerp, are Jewish.
Diamantaires?
Is that what they're
known?
called?
I think so.
What
Diamantaires?
What do the people in Belgium speak? Is it French?
I don't
Or is
know.
it Belgian?
The accents of the officers, of the investigators, kind of sounded French.
A little bit.
But I would imagine that I don't know. I don't want to make like generalizations. I mean, like, of course you speak French because you were part of that.
Yeah.
I think they probably have their own spin on it. Yeah, that's a good question.
They did say that the majority of the language used for the jewelry trade was Yiddish because there was such a large Jewish jeweler population.
Maybe like a blend of Dutch and French.
The detective sounded Dutch to me.
Okay.
They sounded more Dutch, but they looked French. One guy had a badass birthmark on the side of his face.
Agin.
Was that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
We will come back around to him.
Yes, we will. So the majority of these diamond sellers are Jewish, and they became Jewish basically through history because in the Middle Ages, as we've talked about before, the Jewish population were used as moneylenders and basically pawnbrokers because just like they thrust away and they cut off the foreskin restriction that they had, they also didn't have the restrictive ties of Christianity that said you are not allowed to charge interest to another Christian that you're lending money to.
I love this so much, and I forget it sometimes, and then it somehow comes back around to where you remind me of that. You are upset. Here's the thing. If the Christians back then didn't have a problem with that, they would still be lending the money.
Yeah.
Which would mean that they would still be successful lenders, that there wasn't this stigma on why essentially, the Jews were the ones that were in charge of the money. They simply did not have that rule. And so they were like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and just charge a little bit of interest because there are people that are taking loans because the Christian people aren't lending the money because they're not making interest. They're not willing to do it out of the goodness of their hearts. If there was no restriction on, even back then and everything on lending and charging interest, can you imagine the lack of stereotypes there would be?
Yeah, and it's not to say that the Jews didn't have the same rule. They couldn't charge interest to their fellow.
Movies would suck. Movies would suck because Hollywood would have been run by the Christians and we wouldn't get cool shit.
Yeah, but that's just it. You don't let Jews join guilds to create other crafts. You don't let them own land in these areas in the Middle Ages. They have to make money somehow. If the Christians aren't in that business, you can step up and you can be a banker or a pawnbroker.
Who's not? That's fucking everyone that loves capitalism. That is capitalism to a T. It's finding a sector or a need that the public has and filling it. Yeah. And people would fucking applaud that.
Well, what was it? It was 84% of the rough diamonds. You got those numbers?
My man, it's 85.
Excuse me, 85.
Yeah, Jesus. So, yeah, Antwerp, strategic location for trade, in addition to, it kind of works hand in hand. Antwerp just being a large port, it's not just like, it's the largest diamond port as well. It's that, but stuff is coming in there anyway. So why don't you just ship your stones with cargo that's coming from somewhere else? It all develops here. So strategic location for trade, it ends up being 85% of the world's, nowadays as well, the world's rough diamonds are processed in Antwerp. This makes me horny to do a De Beers episode.
Yeah.
Because it keeps dipping back into that. But De Beers, which controls, at various times, I think De Beers was 75 or 80% of the world's diamonds, controlled them or access to the world's diamonds. It's lowered down. It's gone down since then because there's been like mergers of the company and then other people have sold different shares. But their headquarters, I think, is in London. They send their stuff to London and then it comes down by private plane and is, transported by armored car to Antwerp. So they're still sending their stuff down there as well.
You get these massive shipments. I believe the last number I saw was 2016, maybe. They had, $50 billion in diamond sales in Antwerp alone.
There's 1,500 diamond firms, which I'm guessing firms have to be individual brokers or something like that.
Maybe.
380 workshops for workshopping and creating cut diamonds. Thousands of dealers. So this place is, It really is. Imagine if the New York Stock Exchange dealt with diamonds, which in some degree it does, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
But it is people within this small district, which ends up being about 1 square kilometer,
It's like 3 blocks by 3 blocks.
where, you got to, I don't know the exact percentage of as far as diamond business goes on here, but if this is the center for it, you got to imagine it's close to that 85% range.
And the best part of that is that if they're doing $50 billion in diamond business a year, that's what's hitting the books. And we know that that's only about 25% of the business is above board in these diamond sales.
75% of this industry is fucking under the table, which this comes into play when we're going to kind of go into this stuff about insurance and how we don't understand that aspect of it. But 75% of this stuff is not being reported. It's being stored in places. It's going to skew numbers for how much could possibly be stolen. But 75%. So you're telling me that has to also be De Beers doing that kind of stuff because of the large portion that they have. So this whole thing about, that's just a way to funnel and not sell blood diamonds as well. Like that's just included within the 75.
Yeah, I think that for as fun as this story is, and I had about a 10-minute discussion with my gold and silver guy about the price of diamonds and what everything happens. Diamonds are just the biggest scam. They're the scam of the century. They're the scam of the millennia.
I've participated in that scam. I've been Nigerian princed in that scam.
Yeah, it's incredible to try to put a valuation on this because actual value and retail value are just oceans apart.
Yeah.
It's not like Antwerp is. Chris just talked about just this mass that's packed in this 3 square blocks. It's not like it hasn't ever been hit before. It has been hit before. It's been hit after. And there's these things, March 2007, which is after the Antwerp Diamond Heist takes place.
Can you imagine? Because this place, again, 15th century, it's been around for a long time. It would be funny to see the progression of this is the first diamond heist in Antwerp. And it was just like a couple guys going in with knives and being grabbing them off the fucking counter and just running out. And they're like, oh my God. And then have it just progress up where it's different advances in technology that allow this stuff to happen.
The laser beam.
Yeah.
The motion sensor. The light bulb.
Knives to crossbows to guns to, just breaking in.
Well, yeah, and then there's this slight decline where you start to see weapons be less and less involved because you have to, now it becomes more of a timing game than
Security
a
is being stepped up after each of these things.
2007, March 2007, there was a man known to staff at the ABN AMRO Bank in Antwerp in this diamond center, or in this diamond district. He was known as Carlos Hector Floonbaum, which Carlos Hector Floonbaum, I don't know if that's a Flemish type thing. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Sounds like a fake name. He would go in and he would schmooze these bankers that worked inside this bank every single day. He had a safety deposit box inside the vault. He was given VIP key holder access, which basically means you have 24/7 access into this vault. He didn't have to worry about timing. He ended up beating a $2 million security system and stole $28 million worth of diamonds, literally by walking in during business hours, cleaning out anything that was in the safe that wasn't locked, and then walking right back out the door.
Didn't even break into any other...
Nope. Didn't even have to break in. To this day, they don't know his name. He escaped with this. Just an incredible theft that shows it doesn't have to be difficult. It can just be as simple as timing and efficiency.
Or it can be very difficult, but you are just tailor-made for this.
Yeah. You got to have nerves of steel to be able to pull that off.
So the Diamond Quarter, as it's known, is comprised basically of 3 main streets that go through it. It's, I'm going to butcher this. It is Hovenerstraat, De Rifstraat, and Stroopstrap.
You nailed all 3 of those, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you. A lot of strops in there. There are 4 major, what they consider called borises. And I guess borises, I looked up the definition. It is simply a stock exchange that occurs in a foreign country. So how we have our stock exchange, that's pretty much what it is. These are member-only trading centers. You then have the Diamond Office, which is kind of the main. This is where essentially everything's going to go down as far as our story here. 14-story concrete fortress-like building. The vault is located 2 floors below. And I love how in Europe and probably every other country, they refer to the first floor as the one that we refer to as the second floor. You have the ground floor, then you have the first floor, then second floor. Here, when we walk into a building, we just automatically assume that is the first floor, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so second floor is technically the first floor.
This is like the whole age thing.
Yeah.
Like in some countries, you're just born at age 1, whereas we start from 0 and work our way up through months. Once you hit a certain level of months, we got to switch to years.
Yeah.
But you can't have a child that's 38 months old.
And I guess we could always say, like, well, what's ground floor then? It's the first floor in the ground. But they don't even do that. So essentially 2 floors below ground level is where the vault is located. There's also a tender facility, the Diamond Trade Exchange, which I think is open to more of the public, and the security force, who's essentially in charge of overseeing all of the security within the Diamond Quarter, are the what's known as the Diamond Squad, but it has a more technical name. It's basically like the Antwerp Diamond Security Force or some shit.
But that doesn't sound as cool as Diamond Squad.
Yeah, exactly.
The fortress around this building is pretty incredible, and not like a big wall or anything like that, but they have moving walls. They have these pylons that will be standing up. They can sink down into the ground to let an armored car through. As soon as it goes to the first level, those pylons get raised back up. The ones in front of it go raised down. So there's no rushing in and out. You're not going to bring in a truck and try to rob it, fill a truck full, and get out, because there's just no way.
I think we have those now in the States for like government facilities, things like that, or places with higher security. But for the longest time, America really seemed to lean on the tire strip or whatever it was that would just shred your tires if you tried to go in the wrong way, or they
the
raised
metal
them and everything.
teeth that are pointed the opposite
Yeah,
direction.
exactly. We were just like, no, we're not going to stop you. We're going to shred the fuck out of your tires as your car shoots through the barricade.
Which seems much less safe to try to get somebody trying to escape on rims.
So like during the day, these things would be down. People would be moving because, again, there's not a lot of room. It's a very condensed area. So people are parking out and just moving in through this. People are probably walking through it to different sections of town. And so there's a lot of just foot traffic. But if something goes down, an alarm goes off or something happens, those things are shooting up to basically cut off any getaway for, any potential vehicles that are going to be in there.
Unless you hit it at night. There's so many things where this security sounds so good, but there's just seemingly simple fixes.
Yeah, exactly.
There's seemingly simple workarounds. All right. Did we give Antwerp enough love?
We gave Antwerp. Let's introduce our cast of characters here.
Leonardo Notarbartolo. His name, obviously very Italian, comes from an ancestor that was a Bartolo that happened to be a notary. So that's why you get Notarbartolo, because it was a Bartolo that was a notary. he got his last name through it's like Smith. Mm-hmm. You were a blacksmith, something like that back in the day. Notarbartolo, you're a notary.
God damn it. Why am I just connecting that?
Really?
Yeah. What was it, Johnson?
He had a different job. He was in the movies.
Because Coopers, the barrel makers. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I wonder what Johnson was. Sausage guy?
Or Thompson.
Thompson he probably water sealed everybody's decks, didn't he?
Yeah, that's true.
Is that where that comes
Build
from?
machine guns. Yeah.
Leonardo was born in Palermo, Sicily, which, as we know, is the birthplace of the Cosa Nostra.
Throw some Italian on that.
Palermo, sorry. I got to get a little more into it. This is where the Italian mob comes from. So we're probably going to have some shadier figures. I'm sure his Bartolo was a notary back in the day. He probably had a little side work or was notarizing some things for the mob, maybe. But he starts his lifetime in crime really pretty early.
Well, buddy, the guy's got a cousin who was arrested. Okay, sorry. He has a cousin. It's his cousin.
Yeah.
That's not that's not what's questionable. But he was arrested because of ties to the Italian mob.
Yeah, La Cosa Nostra.
La Cosa Nostra. And he was actually, they arrested him because he was in line next to be the next capo de capi. Is that what it was? The boss of all bosses. Mm-hmm. So there are some ties to the Italian mob in here. And because, we can't talk about the mob without thinking about, theft and things like that, we're also going to be discussing a school.
Yes. Yes, a very, very cool school. There's a lot of different ways that this could end, and we'll talk about a few of the different theories maybe. I think we're coming definitely back to the Cosa Nostra theory of maybe where these diamonds ended up. Born in Palermo, like I say, Palermo, at a young age, he was like 6 years old. He starts his life of crime off by stealing 5,000 lira, which is like $100, off of basically a sleepy grocer. He was sent down to get some milk by his mother. He ends up coming back with 5,000 lira and hopefully the milk that he was sent out to get because the grocer just wasn't paying attention. His first arrest, very cool. He was arrested for stealing an Alfa Romeo Spider. And if you've seen an Alfa Romeo Spider, they're beautiful. They're absolutely gorgeous.
You almost can't steal one.
Yeah, it's tough not to. He fashioned himself kind of this legitimate jeweler around the time of the millennium. He would travel to the Diamond Center of the World in Antwerp. In 2000, Leonardo rents office space in the Diamond Center.
Yeah, he dealt in diamond and also just like any other gems, which makes sense too.
Yeah.
If it's a Diamond Center that specializes in polishing, this is just the Diamond Center of the World. There has to be so many things as far as, well, stuff that they steal, emeralds, rubies, sapphires, just anything like that.
Yeah, they're all lower price, but they're definitely still very valuable.
So this guy appears to be legitimate, coming up here to Antwerp, doing a little business. In 2000, he rents an office in the Diamond Center.
Yeah.
And along with that, I don't believe he gets it right away, but within a few months of renting that office, he gains access to a safety deposit box, which kind of comes hand in hand with the office. One just had to open up.
And this is my first beef with the Diamond Center. Because his application, he presents himself as this gem importer that's based in Turin, Italy. They didn't really care. They didn't go in and do a background check. This guy had a fairly decent rap sheet from his time in Italy, because when he's over there, he's still pulling smaller jobs. He's going into these other jewelers that are in Italy. He's making friends with them. He's using his charm, which kind of seems like something that he has in spades throughout this episode. And he's getting in good with them. And then somehow these people are getting their diamond shares wiped out, or their precious gem shares wiped out. And then they kind of figure out that he's the only one that's not getting hit in the area. And there's some questions as to why he's the only one that hasn't been hit.
I think there's also some hubris here, maybe in Antwerp, as far as the Diamond Quarter goes, of being like, we don't have to do that strong of a background check into this type of stuff, because what's somebody going to do here? How much damage can they possibly do? I mean, if they're renting an office, everything's locked up in the safe. We have this crazy security everywhere. So, like, our ability to prevent theft is kind of a background check in itself.
Yeah, I guess that is probably a reason why they weren't super stringent. Regardless, he said that all he had to do was go home, fill out the application. He came back, he turned it in. He was given that office. Like you were pointing to, I don't know if the office came with the safety deposit box or this was something else that he had to rent. I want to say it was about $700 a month that it was costing him to rent this office inside the Diamond District. So not a small fee.
Still sounds pretty cheap, though, when you really think about it.
If you're dealing in diamonds, it does sound cheap.
And an office almost looks like a large closet. There was enough room, I think, that you can put in there for a desk, maybe have a couple chairs on the other side of it. You were basically having people come in there. You're going to walk up from your vault with a briefcase, open the briefcase in your office, show them what you have. You're making a deal right there, and then you're going back down and locking your stuff up. So they're just technically these tiny little rooms to meet up as part of your business.
Yeah, or sit and waste time to make it look like you're conducting business.
Start playing solitaire, buddy.
Yeah. 2003 definitely had solitaire on his computer that was in there, for sure. So he ends up getting the safety deposit box that's located inside the Diamond Center's vault. As we talked about, his previous life is filled with all these other knockoff jobs that he does. The thing that is kind of interesting about this, and it's what Chris just talked about, if he's pulling these heists back in Turin, he can't be doing them all himself. If he's doing this stuff in Italy, he probably has to have a group of friends, potentially other specialists in different fields that he was using. And this may be considered something that they're going to point to earlier called the School of Turin. The School of Turin isn't something that's like concrete. It's not a fact. They don't have a sign outside their building that says the School of Turin.
It's like a rumor that if someone is arrested for doing something and they show a particular set of skills or have a specific MO that fits kind of a certain, I guess, like theme, this person could have been trained or could work for the School of Turin. It's crazy how they kind of tie certain things back to, the people that are within this this brotherhood, if you will, specialize in things like metalwork, vault access, security systems, all this type of stuff. But they actually tied it back to there was a Fiat plant that was open there.
That's right.
And you had all of these people who started becoming very well versed in metalwork and things like that. And then certain parts of them would be like, hey, I don't really like putting cars together, but I can definitely try to start determining how to break into a vault, knowing what I know about cutting metal or things like that. And these skill sets just kind of evolved to where you had people, even in 2003, computer experts, people that were alarm experts. And if you had a job to pull and you were in good with the school, you just walk in and be like, hey, who's good with this, who's good with this, and you could put together a little crew.
This guy's grandpa used to put the key ignitions into Fiats.
Yeah.
And through that lineage, he now has a grandson that's a locksmith.
All of a sudden, this guy is the one connecting all the electrical and the battery and everything.
Yep.
Now you figure out how wires connect and how electrical currents have to operate and everything. Oh, this, how alarm system works or just rerouting currents and things like that.
Yeah, if you have a problem.
I know that's oversight. I know it's just not rerouting currents. What I'm saying is you have an understanding of how things are wired.
Yeah, it's, you can look at a layout inside of any building for a security system and know what wires to clip, what wires that you need to splice. Mm-hmm. You're going to need a lot of guys for this. The security, there was a major need for anybody in security, in vaults, or anything like that if you're going to pull something like this off. And it's because the vault inside the Diamond Center had this multi-layer security system.
Before we get to that, yeah, because that's what I want to kind of determine how they find what these security measures are. So Leonardo is visiting Antwerp like about twice a month. They have security footage of him coming in and out of, the office building and everything. He usually stays for a few days, which would indicate that he's either having a hotel or an apartment, and then he would head back to Turin. In the summer of 2001, Leonardo says he's approached by this guy who they'll call him Alessandro.
Yeah, we'll call him Alessandro. He was a Jewish jeweler named Alessandro who was just curious. He just wanted to have...
He had worked on some of the, again, 75% of this stuff is done under the table.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it under the table, someone's probably got some lax morals. He said he'd worked with this person before on a few of these I'm going to do quotes here, more legitimate diamond deals, but were still kind of shady.
Yeah.
And so this guy knew that he had access to it. And again, this Alessandro, all the names here we're going to be giving are made up names except for, the call signs, essentially.
Yeah.
We know who these guys' names are except for Alessandro and then one of the other guys.
We'll drop their names more towards
when we do the intro,
evidence.
And have the music dun, dun, dun. Yeah. So... he approaches Leonardo and he's just like, hey, let's go ahead and take a walk. I'm curious. You've been in and out of that vault. I probably know you have a little bit of shady, maybe some criminal ties, which is why I'm going to ask you this question.
No, a good criminal doesn't let people know that.
Do you think that this vault could actually be broken into? And... this is the information coming from Leonardo during interviews and everything. He's like, probably not, just from what I know of this kind of stuff. Security seems pretty crazy. He's like, okay, well, let's do this. I'm going to actually give you a device that's going to allow you to take some pictures, and I'll pay you $100,000. You fill this thing up with pictures, you give it back to me, and we'll call it good.
You give me your assessment of if you think this place can be robbed.
Your professional opinion after giving it a thorough walkthrough.
Yeah.
So he's like, hey, why not $100,000? It's not going to, nothing's going to come of it. So they say, again, there's a lot of this, Leonardo telling his side of the story, the investigators being like, we can't say for certain that that's not the case, but it seems kind of far-fetched. A pen So full on James Bond style Q branch pen
In 2003.
in 2003 that has a high res camera that can take up to and store 100 high res pictures. Now, I'm not saying that I believe every aspect of this, because there is a lot of like, you have to kind of suspend belief or try to figure out technologically where stuff stood in 2003. If these guys have access to very technologically advanced stuff, because there's probably a lot of money going around, I could see getting a pen like that. I can also see, if you saw something that was a large pen bigger than a Bic or kind of looked suspicious in someone's pocket, you'd be like, why do you have a camera? Mm-hmm. You'd know what it was. If you had never seen anything like that because it's still so new, and he's like, it's actually a fountain pen or a large pen, who's going to be like, I was going to need to see. No, that makes sense. Of course it is. So he ends up walking in with this pen and kind of just doing the rounds in how he normally would. He goes down the stairwell into the vault antechamber. He's kind of just turning around, and this thing is taking pictures, which I gotta wonder how did he initiate when to take the picture?
I don't know, man. It doesn't. Think about trying to take a dick pic in 2003 with, I'm assuming, a flip phone. Did they even have cameras on cell phones in 2003?
I think so, buddy. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what cell phone I had because I graduated in 2003.
And do you remember how big the cameras were on the back of the flip phones?
Yeah, they were tiny. It was like trying to look at stuff like a GoPro.
But it was still large enough to where if you put it on a pen...
Oh, yes.
It was going to be...
Yeah. But again,
very difficult
we're not
to
listening.
use.
This is what's available in the consumer market at that point. Again, it's been available. Those cameras have been available for 15 years before that.
The high res just gets me. I don't know what high res in 2003
we got to imagine these guys are insanely well funded because they're so good at what they're about to do. Anyway, so coming to essentially what's going to be the biggest problem here, which is going to be the vault. In the antechamber was a 3-ton steel vault door that, because it was open during the day, they're seeing it from the side profile and everything. It's about a foot thick.
30 centimeters, pretty much a foot.
I got to wonder, too. So you can see it from, when it's swung open, I mean, you're not seeing much. You're seeing where the bolts engage and things like that.
Yeah.
You're seeing the inner. You're not seeing what's on the other side of it because it's probably open. You think he's just walking around in there, kind of like leaning back, looking up toward the cameras and everything. And then he walks and he kind of peeks behind the vault door and kind of leans in, has to close it a little bit to get some light on it where he's able to actually see what it looks like. But apparently does acquire enough of these photos that this thing ends up getting pulled off. But what do they see when they are looking at the vault?
You get, as you said, a 3-ton steel door that can withstand up to 12 hours of drilling.
It's disappointing visually, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you see the pictures, say so. I mean, I wasn't expecting a full-on, the circular metal vault and everything with the giant wheel and the retinal scanner and all that kind of stuff. But give me I need like a 4-foot, 5-foot wide, very impressive looking steel door. This thing looked like it's just a big fucking gun safe door.
It does. To me, it kind of makes sense because the smaller the opening means if somebody does ever breach it, the less they can get out. 100%.
I understand logistically.
It's a choke point.
Everything is supposed to be made of more condensed material, less room for weaknesses and everything. But
it's just not so grandiose.
But visually, I need, again, so many callbacks for, what Ocean's 11 references within this thing. The vault door in that was all, crazy and shit. So I think that also kind of skews perception. Yeah, it's still very impressive. Very impressive. Very intimidating.
The 12-hour drilling becomes interesting because we talked about it during the Antwerp episode. Or not the Antwerp episode, the Millennium Diamond Mine episode. It had the glass that was so thick that it could withstand, it was like an hour straight of punishment or whatever.
How much did it actually withstand by like a bolt gun and a hammer?
3 minutes.
There you go.
But the tricky thing about this door is it is laced on the inside with seismic sensors.
So before you even get through, regardless if the thing is 2 hours worth of drilling, you're not going to get even through the first layer of the door without the seismic sensors going off. So this whole thing is reliant, the security system isn't reliant on the simple fact that it's completely impenetrable. What it is by the time you trip one of these things,
Yep.
you're not going to have time to get in before everyone shows up and, the cops are called.
Yeah.
It's basically, these are all just like little timed turrets.
Well, what bigger time deterrent if you can't drill out a lock than a combination lock with 100 million possible combinations?
Not only that, so it's a dial.
Yeah.
0 to 99. So like you said, over 100 million combinations, changed weekly.
Yep.
Correct. And the way this dial is set up, it's not like on an old school safe where all the numbers are facing out on the dial and you have your ear up against it or the stethoscope and you're holding it. The dial itself is only visible. Kind of think of it in the sense of like a Nest thermostat.
Yeah.
Except if you would have to look from the top down, that would be the only place where the numbers were visible. So you have to be close to the vault and actually be looking down on the dial to see the numbers that you're selecting on this.
Your head's pressed against the door.
So there's a physical limitation to this as well.
And if you want to get even more physical than that, if you have a foot thick door, you're going to need a hell of a key. And this key was a foot long. It was 2 parts that would be screwed together. It was a 3-dimensional key. So it was a triangular key that had teeth facing out on all 3 sides.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to fake that?
Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about how they supposedly faked it and everything, but just listening to the security, you're like, if it was 1 or 2 of these things, maybe, but all of these things combined is what, you kind of have to just tip your hat to.
Yeah.
So in addition to this foot-long, impossible to duplicate key, basically, you have these 2 plates that one of them is secured to the frame of the door. The door opens, so the left-hand side has the hinges. Right-hand side is where the door swings from. So up in the top right corner of the door, there is a metal plate that is secured to the door. There is a matching metal plate secured on the frame to where they leave a gap of maybe, visually from what I could see, maybe 1/8 of an inch to maybe 3/16 of an inch.
Yep.
So when the door would shut, just like a Simply Safe system at a home where you put one little thing on the window, one on the frame, if there is a break in that magnetic field or however it is, that's going to set off the alarm. So as soon as, even if you could get the door open, moving that door out of its position breaks that magnetic seal or whatever it is, and that's what sets off the alarm.
The Doppler magnetic field detector. It's just a pretty brilliant way to know if anything gets moved or shaken because the magnetic field's pretty consistent.
Everything is just one step after the other. It's like you can't drill through it, but the combination. Oh, well, even if you know the combination, you can't open it.
Yeah, it's like trying to piss in a Halloween costume.
Yeah. So
there's layers of security to get down to where you're going to do it.
So just on the door alone, there's 6 layers of security. Again, there's the combination, the withstanding of the drilling, the seismic sensors, the plates creating the unbroken magnetic field, the keypad disarming the plates or the magnetic field, so that's no longer in play,
active.
And then the foot-long impossible key. If you were to somehow get past that, it's light work at that point because it's just a steel gate that I think just has a simple lock or can also be unlocked by a security checkpoint. From what I understand, during business hours, the vault was left open so people could come in and access their safety deposit boxes.
Because it would take a goddamn hour to open it.
Yeah, no shit.
If you were just going vault closed.
Ceremony to bless the door and everything. And then they would just control the security gate. So you'd get in there, they'd see you on camera, you'd request going in there, and they'd buzz you through.
Once you're in the vault, things get a little tricky. Because once you're in the vault, you have to deal with light sensors, motion sensors, infrared heat detectors, and internal and external security cameras in the anti-chamber and basically the hallway leading up to the vault and then with inside the vault. You also had 24-hour surveillance from the Diamond District by the Diamond Squad police that are there. There's a 24-hour guard on site. You have 63 security cameras that are in this general area. 24-hour guard on site. There's always somebody there. They run 12-hour shifts, but there's basically like a security box where this guy stays. He doesn't stay inside the building for the 24-hour security.
And you got to wonder, too, is this like a 36 screens on a wall that he's having to pay attention to? Is this 5 screens that are constantly changing every certain amount of time?
Are these tube TVs? Are they not even flat screens that are in this building?
How long has this dude been doing this job without anything happening? How close of attention is he paying to this? There's a lot of stuff in play here. Also, the fact that in the hallway and in the vault, there's a light sensor, so there's no lights.
Well,
so if he's looking at these cameras and everything, he might see some movement because there's like a red light. It's a very low light. But, I mean, there's not a lot of movement there anyway. And I think in reality, a lot of these cameras that they're actually paying attention to are probably the ones in like the exterior areas where they're trying to catch people even coming into the district.
Well, just to paint a good time portrait on this, the 24-hour surveillance that's being recorded is being recorded onto video cassette tapes.
1 cassette per day, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're not talking about DVDs or anything like that. There's no cloud at this point in time. We're using good old-fashioned tapes.
Yeah, you're not sorting stuff into files. You're fast-forwarding and recording and stuff.
Yeah, there's a good chance that some of our listeners have never held a videotape in their hand.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, it is. They never understood. You were always scared to open the front flap and expose the... Yeah, you couldn't do that.
Yeah. I still have my original Jurassic Park VHS that I bought.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It will go to my son one day. Okay, let's say you do get in, you bypass the motion, the light, the heat sensors, the other security cameras. Then you still have, nothing's just sitting out on the table like it was for that other time. You have the individual safety deposit boxes. I believe there were 100 and, I'm going to get this wrong, 179, something along those lines.
I think it's 189. We'll get to it.
Okay. So each of these,
if they get in the vault,
if they even make it, if it's even a factor.
Yeah.
The boxes themselves had 3 small dials, so 3 combinations on it.
The weird thing about this, they weren't numbers. It was the alphabet.
Okay, so
they were alphabet dials.
Okay, so and it's not like each one had to be picked. It was line up this one, line up the second one, line up the third one. Then had to have an individual key that was custom for each safety deposit box. And that's what you would have to do just to open one of these safety deposit boxes. Not knowing, again, there are larger ones and smaller ones, having no idea who they belong to. So it's not like once you even get in there, you're like, this is a big dealer, this is a big dealer, this is a big dealer. You're just trying to pop open as many of these things, if you even can.
You go from a surgery to a smash and grab pretty much instantly. So you get all the pictures. This mysterious high-resolution pen cam ends up making its way back to Alessandro as Leonardo brings it back to him and they meet up. And Leonardo's assessment that he tells in his interviews is that he tells Alessandro that it's just not possible. It's not something that he would even concern himself with. He would like his $100,000. Here's your camera, or here's your pen cam. Go ahead and let me know. Alessandro tells him, I'll give you the money as soon as I can assess these pictures and make sure this is what I need. Leo's like, perfect. That's great. Supposedly the money comes through. He doesn't talk to Alessandro for another 5 months. When Alessandro finally comes knocking again and says, hey, there's this old abandoned building on the outskirts of Antwerp.
Let's take a drive.
Would you please meet me at this location? And of course, Leonardo just peeled $100K off this guy 5 months ago. This could be an easy mark. Could be some good money.
I don't want to go out there, because of the implication.
Yeah, it's an unsafe area. We don't know what goes on inside this abandoned factory. Well, it turns out that Alessandro's been busy using those 100 photos to completely rebuild a vault replica inside of this old factory.
Motherfucker, stop saying this with so much skepticism in your voice. Lean into this. Get on board. All right. This is where we get full into introduction to like the players and everything. There needs to be background music to this kind of stuff. Because as they come into the warehouse, there are 3 other guys at the warehouse, not including Alessandro. He walks him in. There's this giant thing covered by black tarps, apparently. He lifts it up. They walk in, and all of a sudden, Leonardo finds himself sitting in the antechamber, the vault hallway, looking around, being like, oh my God, did we just teleport?
Yeah.
Are we in here? And he's like, this is what we've been doing. There's a vault door on the other side of it. They go through the vault door into the actual vault itself. They got all the safety deposit boxes. They're the same types of safety deposit boxes that there are there. And he's like, all right, I want you to come out and meet the crew. So he comes out, and introduction style, we first meet the genius. The genius was a specialist on alarm systems. He was, Leonardo describes it, he also was kind of like a part like computer hacker as well. As much as you could be a computer hacker
2003
in 2003 with dial-up internet probably at that point,
Yep.
if I still recall. Taking 45 minutes to hack your way into someone's AOL account. But this is what this guy specialized in. The next guy, Leonardo describes him. Weirdly enough, he's like, he was 1.94 meters tall, which has me thinking maybe is that more of a like just 6 feet? How we know 6 foot? If you wanted to describe someone like that.
Yeah, I want to say I saw his numbers and he was 6'2", maybe.
Okay. So, he's like, he was a good looking dude, could have been a, movie star and everything. But also looked like just jacked. This dude is who they were introduced as the Monster. This guy was a master of lockpicking. He was an electrician, a mechanic, and a driver.
Besides his physique, part of the explanation of the nickname Monster was that he was monstrously good at quite a few things. Monstrously used in that frame seems like we're trying
I still like it.
maybe make something up. I'm not saying it, maybe make something up.
We now come to an older man.
Royalty
in the School of Turin, if you will. This guy is the king of keys, and this guy is a master key forger. This is going to be the man responsible, amongst other things, of recreating the impossible to recreate foot-long vault key.
Yeah, he was a sandwich artist. He was making $5 footlongs for these keys. Obviously, you have an alarm guy, a key guy, a lock picker, and somebody that can handle electrical work. You're going to have professions where these guys can't just pull crimes all the time. So there's a good chance that the genius, being an alarm guy, probably an alarm salesman, somebody who is very familiar with all of the technological advances that are being put in this vault.
Okay, I want to go deep on this. Let's tinfoil hat time. If it's a Batman Bruce Wayne thing. Bruce Wayne feels like he really is Batman. His real job is being Batman.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne is just the cover. With this guy, his main job being a master thief, alarm system guy, the perfect front would be to have your own alarm system or a company or something like that, or a firm or consulting. The reason being is it would sound really weird if a private individual was just calling all these alarm companies asking about what their commercial security type stuff is, not home security, because that's not what you're really going to be breaking into. You need the heavy duty shit. Or you can be someone who is a buyer or someone who is in the business and can order those systems to be like, oh yeah, we're actually installing for this company. I'm going to need you guys to send me this for a bank or something like that. And so now he's able to take this stuff, figure out how it works, how to bypass this kind of stuff. I don't, judging by how this job goes off, I feel like there has to be this level of expertise and like this elaborate nature to it.
I don't think this is tinfoil hat at all. I think you nailed exactly what the genius does. I think he's an alarm guy that was able to procure via picture or via video recording what this alarm setup was able to purchase and procure all of these different sensors and everything else. And I believe that was how they made it into this replica vault that Alessandro
And
set
know how
up.
to beat it.
Yep. Same thing with the King of Keys. You have a guy who probably is a locksmith, somebody who can call any lock manufacturing company in the world and say, hey, I have an order for 3 of these locks. Can't really do that with a foot-long triangular key, but at the same time, if you understand how locks work and tripping tumblers and things like that, you can probably fashion a key.
Probably not as widely used, but he's also probably dealt with vaults that have keys as well.
Yeah.
And if he's that good in his public persona, he's probably been called upon to try to help out with situations like that.
Yeah, lockpicker has to be a top 5 oldest profession. For as long as there have been locks, there have been lockpickers.
Yeah. As long as there's been a wooden latch, there's been a dude with a stick that's able to reach through and lift up the latch.
Exactly. And to have a lockpicker that is pretty good with electrical, as the monster was, you're going to be able to bypass different things like security pads or anything like that.
You're a mechanic.
Yep.
You're probably well versed in metal fabrication, what certain things are made of. This is going to come in handy when you're trying to figure out a way to disable that magnetic lock.
Very important to know how to get into an electrical panel and be able to reroute something.
I mean, we need another guy to round this out, right?
Well, yeah, you always need somebody. You have the genius, you have the king of keys, you have the monster. This guy may have been a little less important because he didn't get a at the beginning.
I just figured out what this is. This is
the little brother?
Nope. This is Dennis, Mac, and Frank sitting in the van when they're doing the gasoline sale scam. And then you get Charlie Kelly in the back as the wild card. This dude is the wild card. Speedy is the wild card. And of course, because Leonardo had never met the genius, he had never met the king of keys, and he had never met the monster. He had met Alessandro a handful of times. You got to bring somebody in that you know will have your back. I have 2 schools of thought on this. Alessandro, let's go the Alessandro was real route. Okay. With Leonardo, the way that he frames it, not being the mastermind behind this thing, and what his role ends up being in this, aside from just kind of being the internal guy, he does not participate in the actual break-in itself. For him, if he's like, hey, I want to bring on my buddy that has maybe I don't know what Speedy's skill set was, panic attack, apparently is what ends up being his skill set.
Not keeping cool under pressure.
Yeah, exactly. But in the Alessandro's real camp, if he's like, I want to bring in a guy that's kind of like my known guy that's going to be there on the job with them to maybe kind of protect either my interest or to be a representative since you're not letting me go in. But again, in the camp of Alessandro is not real, Leonardo's the actual mastermind behind this thing, it makes more sense of being like, oh yeah, I'm just also bringing in this guy that I've worked with and that I know before.
And if we're going under the Alessandro's not real camp, he definitely knew who the monster was and who the king of keys was. And who
if Alessandro was real, it makes me think that Speedy would not be on this job.
Yeah.
Because he would have filled a guy had they needed another guy. He would have done another specialist, someone that could have probably contributed a little bit more than being just like, oh, you got a dude? Okay, yeah, call him up. He's on your bowling team? All right.
Well, and maybe this was just the mock-up of the vault. Maybe we didn't have everything else in because you only have 100 pictures. So Leo's going to have to do a little bit more reconnaissance here. And if you have a pen camera that you're just able to hide that way, you're going to need probably some moving footage.
I'm going to need some live. Yeah.
The best thing that you can do is make yourself a little purse that has a hole fashioned out of the front of it, shove an old video camera that had the flip open door to where you could watch it on the screen. You shove that guy in there, you carry it under your arm into the vault. This might be one of my favorite parts of the caper, was looking at the security footage. They did have him carrying it around.
Yes.
And watching him stretch his back out as he slowly points. You can see him pointing the purse up towards the security cameras.
So after, they have a list of stuff. Hey, we didn't get a good enough look at this, this, and this. So he's like, we're going to need you to try to kind of get shots of this so we can figure out what it is. One of the things that you didn't get was we need to figure out what the ceiling of the vault looks like, what the sensor up there looks like. And then the other sensor that's over on the wall, you need to figure out what that looks like as well. Get a little more of the antechamber for positioning for the cameras and everything like that. But yeah, him walking in there, and it's not subtle. It is not subtle at all. He's not just like, for me, I would probably, and again, hindsight on this, you have the bag, just go kind of stand under the spot you're supposed to have and just literally kind of act like you're shifting to itch underneath you and just lift the bag up and hold it for a second and then tuck it back down under your arm. He he's Christian Bale in Batman Begins, where the bat suit, the neck didn't have any flexibility, and so to move his neck, he had to move his whole body. This guy is literally just keeping his arm down to his side and then leaning back and bending backwards, trying to aim this thing at the ceiling, and then just kind of moving a little bit to the side, and he's looking exactly at what he's filming. He just looks like he's walking around casing the place.
He looks like he's doing the robot.
There was a security guard, I think, down there as well that is like, hey, came down and was like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I've just been sitting at my desk and everything. I got like a kind of a stitch in my side. I'm trying to kind of work it out. And the guy's like, oh, okay.
So for as good as Leonardo was at this, not that great. But at the same time, if you don't know who Leonardo is in his past, you're not going to question it as much,
That's
I guess.
why this is so hard, because when you watch him during the interview, he gives this very just kind of like, he like you said, he's really, charming and everything, but it's almost like he's disarmingly charming, where he doesn't seem threatening at all. And again, this is a job in which no one is hurt or anything like that, but you don't look at him. You can as easily imagine him as the mastermind as the guy that just got convinced to help out with this because he wanted to make some money.
And he's an innocent. The only thing he's guilty of is consenting, basically, to doing this. They would work on this for years. Again, he gets there in 2000. He supposedly meets Alessandro in 2001. We have to fast forward all the way up to 2003 before we can even get to the break-in. So before we get to the break-in, you want to do a bathroom break?
Let's do it.
Go.
Well, hey there, all you sexy historians. How you guys doing?
It is time for
socials.
Where can they find us on Instagram?
If they want to follow us, they can find us at Historically High Pod on Instagram.
That goes the same for Threads as well. You can also find us on Twitter.
Tell them about Twitter.
Historically High. That's Historically HI on Twitter.
And if you want to email any of your comments or suggestions, where can they find us at, Adam?
At Historically High Podcast at gmail.com.
Gmail. All right, and back to the show. Okay, we're not even to the night of the event yet. There's still so much more to go over here. So what day is it that they send in one of the dudes in the guise of the security? He's the security guy, right? Or the alarm guy.
Yeah, the genius.
Yes.
Monday, February 10th, 2003, the genius walks up to the Diamond Center, slaps a work order against the window for security cameras.
A working order, apparently is what they call it.
Oh, a working order?
Yeah.
Like the work isn't done yet, but we're in the process.
It's an order to allow us to be working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Slaps it up against the security window. They let him inside. The order is supposedly for security cameras that are supposed to be installed in Leo's office, that he's working very hard inside, making all of these diamond deals happen inside this office. So he's got to have this security. He uses it to gain entry. There are keycard swipes to get into the building that were Leo's right around this time that they believe this working order was used. And again, this is conjecture. This is just kind of how the police have put together this side of it. Leo doesn't really give us a whole lot here besides this is what happens. There's potential that they could have broken into this building on numerous occasions and done some of this stuff. The only thing would be they would have found something else in the surveillance.
Yeah. When asked about it, they're trying to determine, because again, this is so very elaborate that to think that they never on multiple occasions kind of case the place without breaking into the vault or setting off anything is, the more you're doing it, the more likely you are to be caught.
Yeah.
So when they asked Leonardo about it, he's like, how many times did somebody, not the whole squad or anything like that, but maybe people, one day the alarm guy went in just to look at everything. He's like, probably 30 times. He's like, and you guys couldn't catch us. The reason they also, there's things that lean toward that, things that lean against that. When they end up finding evidence, which they find a lot of it, not on purpose, they find a modified Allen key that was perfectly fit to get in through the garage. So they thought at some point there might have been access that had taken place through the parking garage. There was a door that then led into the Diamond office or whatever it was. And yeah, this found thing fit perfectly and was able to pop this lock. The fact that they know about all of these security measures and have such a detailed, I think it's the investigators kind of trying to fight the disbelief on multiple fronts. So they either have to chalk it up to a pen camera being able to capture all of this information, them able to capture all of it on this video that they're able to see when he's obviously leaning back and filming this kind of stuff, or they have to say, yeah, you guys obviously came in and looked at the stuff. One of them makes them look really bad that they didn't catch this and they were breaking in multiple times. The other one, they just have to look like they got completely outplayed.
Well, there's also the third option of them going with, it had to have been a partial inside job. They had to have known somebody inside the security team.
And even more so of an inside job than Leonardo actually being inside the place. Someone that, had additional knowledge of making it easier for them to be able to access this.
Embedded inside security.
But in regards to what's been found out about this case, no one, as far as working aside from Leonardo for the Diamond Exchange, was ever implicated or tied into any of this. This is why this is so crazy.
Well, the very cool thing that they did in the documentary, like we talked about trying to get out in front of the Millennium Diamond Heist documentary. I think we had kind of gone away from it and forgot. They released a documentary on Netflix about the Antwerp Diamond Heist in like August.
Yeah.
That just went completely under the radar for both of us. But watching it, it's a great documentary. It's 90 minutes and it's flashing back between Leonardo and then talking to these detectives. So you'll get Leonardo telling, this is how we did this. We installed this camera and this light fixture above the lock. And then you have them panning back to the detective who's then told what Leonardo said. He's just like, bullshit. There's no way that could have happened.
The best thing is they talk to Leonardo first, and then they're telling the detectives what Leonardo told them.
They're just feeding everything to him. So the way Leonardo says this works, the genius shows up with the working order for security cameras, scans in and out with his key card. Overnight, he goes down to the antechamber, the hallway in front of the vault, and there's a light that is positioned directly over the top of where the combination lock is.
Yeah, basically to light up the combination to give you the ability to look down and see that.
The genius stuck a very small camera, hardly noticeable camera, in this light fixture that's directly above the combo, then had the foresight with him, which this definitely leads to more of the multiple break-in angle, to bring a fake extinguisher with him, a hollowed out fake extinguisher that is then placed inside the storage room where the collection device, I believe, for the camera.
Yeah, so this is why I really lean more toward I'm not saying 30 times, but multiple break-ins of this place. So they can see certain things through, the pictures and everything like that. The light itself, to me, you probably know what type of light it is. Yeah. But to look up there and know the positioning exactly over the lock and all that, that, to me, requires someone to go in there and be like, I see this light. The camera can go here in this position where I can drill it. I need this big of a drill bit. I need to be able to put it exactly here. Okay, now I need somewhere for this camera to relay its information and to store it. It's got to be close by. In this hallway, there are other doors. One of them is like a janitor's closet.
Yeah.
It's locked, but one of them is a janitor's closet. So he goes into the janitor's closet and he's looking around and he sees fire extinguishers, a couple of them. He's like, okay, perfect. I'll go ahead and just modify a fire extinguisher that will just be able to hold a hard drive that will record all of the stuff coming off of the camera. And then when we come down to do the job, we can just tap into the hard drive. We can watch the video and see within the last week what the combination has been.
Yeah, there's not a lot of leaps in logic to go with that. Now, there is a question of how long can something that's completely, unless you're tapping into the electrical, how long of a battery pack can you put on a small camera like that?
Again, we're going back to 2003, and we're trying to think of what was available for us.
Yeah. There's not battery packs. There's not things that you can just plug in. There's just solid batteries.
There's not. But okay, I try to look at it from and I like to lean into this aspect of all this technological shit. So I think that's why I'm defending it so much. Think of a pair of the Ray-Bans that have the cameras in them right now. Those came out maybe 2 years ago for consumers. If going by the thought process of all the advanced stuff taken 10 to 15 years to filter down to like publicly available consumer stuff. Jump back 15 years, maybe go 20 years and think if they could take that camera and that was available 15 years ago and could last as long in a pair of glasses as it does, was there a camera available to last for a day or multiple days with its own power source? It, again, like, I don't know. I can't say yes. I can't say for them to have that, knowing what was available for me in 2003. I'm like, yeah, that makes me think of bullshit. But again, this is a school of career thieves who are very determinedly breaking into the diamond center of the world, this what was thought to be an impenetrable vault, and are very sure that they're going to be able to pull this off. They obviously have resources.
They certainly do. I'm not saying it's not possible. It gives me pause to think that they're still using videotapes inside the Diamond Center to record things on.
No. I totally get that. And that, again, is that just the Diamond Center being like, well, this is working. We don't need to update our security at this point.
We've been doing this for forever.
I'm trying to bridge the gap between like movie capers and thinking like, how do they plan shit in Fast and the Furious? And I'm like, they just throw like a map across the hood of a car and it's like, you're going to do this. And they use Matchbox figures to kind of like map out what they're doing versus Ocean's 11 style, where they have a specialist in every single thing that is able to know exactly what this aspect of the job is.
And they built a mock vault.
And they built the mock vault. Exactly. Okay. So Genius goes in, installs the camera that's able to view the lock, which again is crazy because it has to see that much detail as well through that little screen on top of the combination. Fire extinguisher goes in with the hard drive to actually record the footage. He gets whatever other details he needs. He bounces out.
Oh, no, my friend. We got to deal with that magnetic lock now.
Okay, here's the reason I didn't mention that is because I think that was somebody else in there.
At a certain time, like at another break-in potentially.
Yeah.
So whether it was this time or another time that they'd come in, what they end up doing with these magnetic plates it's my favorite thing throughout this whole entire deal, is they walk in with, it's basically an aluminum frame. And this aluminum frame fits to where, since aluminum's non-ferrous, it can't break or a magnetic field. There's basically a spacer that goes in between these two plates. There's a shelf where they sit underneath, and there's basically like a back brace to where they can be connected to.
If you were to take just a square sheet of metal, like I'm trying to maybe think of foot by foot. It's not to the dimension, but I'm trying to describe it. A piece of paper,
basically.
Yes. And then you basically raised up the edges to then form yourself almost a box, but maybe one of the ends is open. And then through the middle of that, you install another raised piece of aluminum.
It's a tray. Yeah.
So if you have children and you see a children's plate that is all partitioned off, kind of like that, except it's square with a line running through the middle. I still don't know. You tried to explain this to me and I'm still having trouble wrapping my head around it. So what they end up using for this is they put this against first they have to make it to where these things are removable.
Yep.
Correct? Okay. You can't break the magnetic field. So they cannot move out of position. They're each secured. The one to the door is secured by 2 bolts up top, 2 bolts down low. The one to the door frame, the same, 2 up top, 2 down low. They have to take these bolts out, keeping them in place. They can't put the bracket on there because it's a solid piece. You can't access the bolts through it.
No, you can't.
Oh, they had holes in it?
No, it was, the long way was sideways. So you could see bolts on the top and the bottom, but you couldn't.
It only took up the middle portion.
Yes.
Okay. And then the strip went all the way the length.
Yes, it did.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay. That went between the 2 plates.
And that's just there to keep it equidistant away from each other.
It's in place. You're unscrewing it.
Yep.
And as you pull it away, and it hasn't moved. What used to be secured by the vault door and the wall is now being secured by the plate on the other side of these 2 magnetic plates, basically. They pull it away from the wall a little bit. It's still connected to the power.
The power source that's on the outside of the wall.
The power source that's connected to the plate that's secured to the wall. And they take while it's in this position, I don't know this is why I have multiple feelings on this.
Yeah.
You're trying to size up bolts through a camera, a pen camera, or somehow through the video camera that they have.
Through a purse camera.
You don't know you know how big the head is on it, maybe. You don't know how big the bolt itself is. They either shaved off the length of these bolts to just have them flush with the back of it using an angle grinder, a hack. But again, if it's a hacksaw, that's two people that have to be in there, one holding it secure while the other's working the hacksaw. They're thicker bolts.
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, have you not hacksawed steel apart?
I have, but you're also having to make... You are, but you're having to make sure that the thing never separates or anything like that. I know it's held in place.
No. The bolts slid out of the plates.
Okay.
They weren't attached inside of the plate.
Gotcha. Okay. That's making more sense now.
And you could also just bring a socket set with a million different sockets in it to try to size everything up to pull them out.
That's true. Okay, so then you end up cutting them down flush.
Yep.
So they no longer actually will go into secured into the door or the wall. So while this thing is still all together, you've flushed these bolts that you're going to use now. You take double-sided adhesive. Got to be the strongest shit in the world. Again, these are career criminals, so they got access to all that crazy shit. This is not 3M. This is 16M is what this is. Secures it to the back of these two things, presses it in the exact position against the wall, has the bolts in it so it looks like it's actually being secured to the wall by the bolts. And then after it's secured by the adhesive, gets the bracket off of it to remain in place. So this thing can operate correctly for the next week until their break-in.
Pretty good.
Okay, I understand now.
Pretty good. Pretty tricky to be able to think that through to that nth degree, to know that you have to have a perfect spacer inside so you're not breaking the magnetic field, so it can't be anything that's conductive, and then just be able to slide it off and make it look fake. Now, they did say that this was a feature that was added later and had been put in when the vault was erected. The magnetic plates would have been on the inside.
Yeah.
So you couldn't
or
do
built
anything.
into the door.
Yeah, so you couldn't access any of this. So this was just like a retrofit on the vault to make it more secure, but it was kind of a red herring because you were able to do something like this.
Yeah.
Now, you have to have the intelligence to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, it's not impossible to break.
Yeah.
So, of course, after you get through all of that, you're kind of set. Except for there's still one other thing that you have to worry about, and that's these sensors. Because if you're moving inside of the vault for any reason, these thermal imaging sensors that can detect body heat as you're walking around have to be obscured somehow. And the Friday before the break-in happens, I think it's on the next board.
I want to say that it was actually, so there were... Are you saying the Friday before the break-in is in the Friday before the night that it happened?
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of the way that Leonardo, and again, you're going off of what camera footage is supporting what he's saying, what the investigators are saying. I want to say he said he went in on Wednesday. He went in, and what he did over those days is because they would come in and clean the vault every night.
Yep.
So when he went in the first day, the sensor for the motion and the heat, the light one was the one they had him in the ceiling, the one they had to have him shoot in the ceiling. That was the light sensor.
That was the one they covered with polystyrene.
That was the one that they just put a piece of tape over.
That's the light sensor.
Okay, yes, that's what I'm saying. That was in the roof, in the ceiling. On the wall was the motion sensor and the heat sensor.
The thermal, yeah.
And the way the camera inside the vault was put in is if you're thinking about you're entering the vault, it's up in the top right-hand corner. So it's getting like the vault door and then the wall where all the safety deposit boxes are. They're not all the way around the room. They're on, I think, just two walls, right?
Yeah, because it's you can get everything. There are blind spots in it, but in order to get to the blind spots, you have to cross through the field of vision.
Yes. And so as he is walking into the vault, as Leonardo is, just during one of his little, I'm depositing something, I'm taking something out, whatever, he enters and then walks along the wall that the camera can't see. He's still able to be seen, but his arm can't be seen. He says he pulls out a thing of hairspray and he just puts like a film of hairspray on the motion sensor. The reason that they knew that that would somewhat work is because, of course, they had tested it out when they were doing this. He had to go in and make sure over the next couple of days that it didn't darken color-wise to where the cleaning crew would notice it and clean and wipe it away. before they had an opportunity to then break in the next night or apply another thing. So he went in the next day, did the same kind of walk, looked at it. It didn't look like it had darkened to show that there was something on it. And then he checked the next day, from what I understood.
I think he would have had to have hit it on that Friday before, because they said that through alleged testing that maybe the school was doing, this group of people, they were able to deduce that it would work for about 24 to 48 hours.
That's what I'm saying, is you're going off of his story, and once he noticed that it hadn't darkened and been cleaned off like that second day, and he knew that it wouldn't get cleaned on Friday or something, maybe he went and he put another coat on it just to kind of re-up it.
Yeah, either way, the last time that Leo is seen in the vault is on February 14th. He's doing partly his stretching routine as well. Mm-hmm. That's how they can tell that the arm goes off.
Guy's been at a desk and, slinging deals all day, man. He's got to stretch.
Earning and burning, and I am real tired. As Chris mentioned earlier, we get Speedy involved in this whole planning of this scenario. Fatal flaw, potentially, before we go into the actual break-in. What could go wrong here? What do you think? I mean, there's a million things that could go wrong, right?
Yeah.
First off, there's the entry into the building. Mm-hmm. There's making it down to the vault, potentially being picked up on security cameras.
It's not even the entry into the building. It's where do we approach the building from? Where is the building where we can even enter? That's when the investigators come in to try to figure out what happened. The entry that these guys actually take, they have no clue how they got into the building. It's not like, oh, they definitely entered here. Mm-hmm. So you have to, and not only are you doing the inside of the vault and the area there, when he's walking around, they're also casing the area for where, hey, we have to move in on foot into this building. Where the security camera is going to be. Can we try to hug this wall? We have to try to get something to help climb up to this window. And so it's the actual outer security first to even approach the building, then it's getting into the building itself, and then everything after that we've discussed.
So much could go wrong. In my opinion, and the only reason that we really know who was in there is, again, based off of Leonardo, who says it. Mm-hmm. Could he have been inside? Absolutely. Yeah. Does he say he was inside? No. What are the reasons behind that, as Chris alluded to earlier? Maybe it was Alessandro's job, so he was left out of being inside to actually make this all happen. He says that he actually places himself outside because he needs somebody to watch the guard shack out front of the building.
See if there's any officers, because he would recognize people that might be in plain clothes walking around or anything like that. The other thing that just kind of came to mind, and I actually might have just lost it, God damn it, is Leonardo has always gone along with the story that there's an Alessandro. Mm-hmm. So he's never at any point put himself into a position to take credit for actually being the mastermind behind this kind of thing. So by distancing himself, he already knows he's implicated because there's the security camera, footage of him doing the casing of the joint and everything like that. He can't add on to his plate of saying, I was also in there perpetrating it. I was simply the guy waiting outside in the car to go ahead and drive away. Well, why were you just in the car outside? You definitely should have been in there. Well, no, because I had history in this area. They wanted me to actually monitor for, people that I might recognize.
He's lessening his involvement.
Exactly. He's distancing himself from the actual,
Well, again, if you're a good criminal and maybe you have eyes to commit more crimes after that, you do get caught for something. If you can lessen your role in this, you're probably going to be able to pull a few more capers after you're out.
Because again, this is all stuff that they got convicted for based on evidence. They still, I believe, maintain the fact that they had nothing to do with this.
Yeah. Nobody admitted guilt to anything besides the genius. Yeah. And it was just the guilt that, yes, he was in there with a working order, but didn't do anything illegal and didn't participate in the robbery.
Just weird timing, man.
I don't know. He kept my business card. I've never even met this guy before. So, on the night of February 15th, the Saturday, this comes into play for a few different reasons. Night of February 15th, again, would be a Saturday. Day after Valentine's Day is completely immaterial. Although Leonardo does say that he is getting calls from his wife because he wasn't home back in Italy with her for Valentine's Day. So he's concerned. He's concerned that his wife may be thinking that he's got himself a girlfriend in Belgium. but it is the Sabbath. And if you have a majority of the jewelers that are conducting business, no business is going to be conducted on Saturdays. There's also a very large event where Venus Williams is playing in this Diamond Cup.
The 2003 Proximus Diamond Games, which was a major pro women's tennis event. Venus ends up beating Kim Clijsters in the final.
Was it Clijsters?
Yeah, it was Kim. Now, they do mention in this documentary, like, what the winner gets for this. It's basically a golden tennis racket, a little bit smaller than an actual racket, and then it's encrusted, not fully, of course, but it has, like, diamonds, you know, in the actual, like, racket and everything.
Real shiny trophy.
Real shiny trophy. Now, you actually only win this trophy. It was kind of misleading because it made it sound like Venus actually won that trophy. The trophy that you get that has the golden racket and the diamonds is if you win the tournament 3 times in a 5-year span.
And she had done that?
No, because the tournament was founded in 2002.
Oh, so this was just the second iteration.
Yeah, but they were just making sure it was known that, you know, it was Venus there that was actually winning. But then they were trying to kind of display how much of a distraction in the city this was going to be. It was
security's going to be shifted.
It was It was the second year. It was the second year that they were putting on this tournament, so it had the buzz from the first year. It was going to be more popular. Venus was actually going to be playing at the tournament. The final ended up being exactly what they needed, where it was going to be drawing a lot of people away from it. And so the lack of probable response time from the city had anything gone wrong, and just the distraction and lacks, like you said, in security elsewhere in the city, combined with it being the Sabbath, was kind of ideal conditions for this.
Yeah, it was a perfect cover, especially if you're going in the middle of the night.
So it's kind of, it could have happened Friday night, but we believe that it happened Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the consensus.
It's also based upon what else is stolen
Yeah.
during that time. So again, this whole part is going to be solely based upon what Leo says happened. He says that he saw the King of Keys, the Genius, the Monster, and Speedy being thrown into the fire immediately, enter an office building that has a courtyard that's adjacent to the Diamond Center. Is that it?
Yeah, it was like maybe a construction site behind it or something like that.
Well, it's also brilliant because if you think about it, they have cameras everywhere in the Diamond District. A courtyard in between 2 buildings is probably going to be somewhere where there's not a lot of cameras. But again, you have a Diamond District building that should have cameras pointing directly down to anywhere that could be breached.
Or it was a previous location that had something that didn't allow for cameras to be there as far as obstruction, and that got torn down as part of the... There's a whole lot of stuff that it could be for this reason. They make it in undetected. They have with them a ladder tall enough to access a first floor balcony. So they throw the ladder up. Ladder's not found, right?
I don't believe so, but I believe that Leo says the monster had placed it there the day before just in case they would need it.
Yeah.
So a handy dandy hidden ladder.
Which is nuts. So they end up getting up. There is on this window that they get to, or this door, was it a motion sensor or was it a heat sensor on this one?
It was thermal motion.
Okay, so it was thermal motion on this
heat
one.
Moving.
So as they're moving up, whoever is in the front, I can't remember if it was the monster or the genie. It's the monster. So he's holding like a polystyrene kind of shield in front of him.
Polyester this time.
Oh, polyester.
Because polyester, for some reason, it doesn't conduct heat. It's basically like a shield.
Gotcha. Okay, polystyrene is what they use in the vault, right?
Yep.
Okay, so polyester shield, he's able to get to it, and then using kind of the hairspray trick that they determined would work, ends up knocking out that sensor's ability to detect them without setting anything off. They end up getting in. They're in a stairwell that pretty much provides them like direct, straight access into the vault hallway.
It would have been something that he had recorded so they'd known the layout before. And also, again, we're still discounting the fact that maybe they had a run through at this window before at some point in time and had opened it and realized that they can gain access this way, and that's why it was chosen.
You're definitely checking off boxes for every single thing. You got to concentrate on how you're getting in first before you can even worry about how you're getting into the vault itself. So they end up getting in. The lights are off because, again, security cameras, light sensors, things like that. So as they move into the little antechamber, the vault hallway, first thing they do is they throw bags over the cameras.
Black bags the whole entire way down.
Yep. So they end up black bagging the cameras, and as they move into the antechamber, they enact a little change to the plan. Turns out that the key that they had designed that was going to fit wasn't really necessary, because watching this camera that they'd installed, they'd noticed a pattern of any time someone was coming down to open or close the vault, the guard would go into the janitor's closet or one of the other
It's just a storage closet.
Storage closets that was off of that hallway, and would then come out with the key. And then he would always go. I don't think they could visibly see him just like walk out with the key or anything. But then after he locked it, he would then go back into the closet and then out and then back up the stairs. So opening this closet, they find the key basically hanging on a hook inside the door, right?
This feels like Super Troopers when they're fooling around inside the motorhome and they break through and they find the weed underneath the bed.
Yeah.
And then he goes back. He's like, call it my detective sense. I was walking down by the police station and happened to look through the fence. I scaled over the fence. I crawled inside the motorhome.
Bullshit.
I used maybe my fifth or even sixth senses and smashed through the bed.
Bullshit. Yeah.
They had to have known this. And this in particular is one of those things where I feel like points to somebody being on the inside. Can't officially say it because they didn't catch anybody. There's a lot of questions as to how they knew that this was there. It could have been the camera. It could have been a million different things. But regardless, they know that the key has to be in the storage closet that they then break into and find. Why you wouldn't just use the perfect duplicate key that you had found or that you had made, I don't know. They said...
Why would you in that situation, though? You have the real thing. They have an expert lock picker that is picking the lock of probably a handle lock on a storage closet. There's nothing in there of value.
True.
That thing is probably popped so fast. They had that tool that could pop the garage door.
Yeah.
Just by using it like that.
Probably a good old-fashioned crowbar. To set up the antechamber, though, is they entered that before they go over to the storage closet. You need some light, but you still have these light sensors.
Yeah.
They ended up just using black duct tape to cover the light sensors.
Yeah.
So you can't trap any light. You can turn the lights on in the antechamber because that's... A light sensor sounds like it's going to be something pretty good, right? Mm-hmm. It's foiled just by black duct tape.
There's like two in my kitchen.
Yeah.
Then I go over and I just put my finger under when I want to make sure it's still working during the daytime and too much light is... Yeah.
It's wild that it's that
not
simple.
super advanced technology, but it's, again, in the slew of things that they have here, it's just one more thing that can try to catch somebody. So they're just kind of doing their thing out in the vault, the vault hallway.
Yeah. Break into the janitor's closet. Go ahead and you steal that storage from that camera that's over the
Pop open the fire extinguisher. Connect a little screen to it. You're going through the footage. You zoom in. You see what the combination that's good for the week.
36, 24, 36.
Much easier than going through the 100 million different combinations for that week. And got the key that's already made. All of a sudden, someone goes up to that pesky magnetic lock and basically puts, again, the little bracket on it to keep them separated at the right amount and everything. Probably takes a little bit of a scraper, I'm guessing, and just goes behind the door, scrapes it off to where it'll pop off. And then they literally just swing it to the side a little bit and then stick that shit back to the wall. So it's just hanging on the side of the wall, just fucking cockeyed.
Yeah, we built this up to make it sound so tough to break into, but these dudes are just so smart in what they're doing.
In literally
years of practice.
In literally a minute and a half, we just went through how they just beat these like 3 or 4 main aspects of getting in here. They didn't have to touch the magnetic keypad. They completely bypassed that by getting rid of the fact that it still looked like it was supposed to be active. So douse the lights again. Lights are off because there's another separate light sensor within the vault. They end up popping the vault door. Nothing goes off because there's no magnetic break in that. They go into the monster again, goes in there, and he
picks the lock on the cage door first.
Yeah, has to pick the lock on the cage door. Goes in, props it open with a can of paint that they got from the janitor's closet or the storage closet. Seriously, they did actually do that.
Yep.
And then as he goes in, he's holding a polystyrene, which that's the stuff that like the temporary coolers are made of, right?
Yeah.
Holding that up to block the it still has the hairspray on it, so it's blocking most of it. Using that to get close to it, he then just basically puts that over the thing, right?
He just uses like a broomstick that they bought at a store.
Yeah.
And they leave it there because if you're going to bring stuff in and you're bringing them in bags, and you
we know they bought it at the
bags.
store because this part is part of the investigation and everything. And then I want to say that there's at one point he has to go in the dark and access wires for a certain aspect of the alarm.
Seismic part of the alarm. So the seismic readers that were in there to detect any kind of shaking or anything like that.
Once they start popping these boxes and everything like that.
Yeah.
So he basically in the dark has his wire strippers and everything, pops this panel off the top that they knew the access to, which that raises an entirely new bag of cats.
Yeah.
But then strips the wire and basically just creates a bypass loop to where even if the seismic sensors go off, they're no longer attached.
It's just rerouting it right back into the system.
Yep,
it's creating
like nothing,
a loop.
Exactly.
But to be standing there, you still are in the dark, presumably doing this, to strip that out and not cut that wire and completely fuck everything up. To strip a wire that's hanging up in the ceiling and you're up over your head to do it, you got to be pretty good at what you're doing.
Expert, man. So light sensor is also covered up, I believe, with duct tape. And they pop the lights on and they start to go to work. Now, we still run into the issue now. We have a timing. They're on the clock. They only have a certain amount of hours before they got to worry about people. The district itself may not be in full operational business mode, but people are still going to be coming and going. Security is going to end up coming back. How do you end up popping all of these safety deposit boxes when they have custom keys and then these 3-digit codes?
The whole way that this little, I guess, grabber is set up is pretty brilliant. So basically, it's 3 sides to a box. Obviously, the part that doesn't have the panel is the part that sits over the top of the safety deposit boxes. There's like a hand crank drill that has these specialized bits that are basically to punch inside the lock, connect to whatever is inside of it, so grip it with teeth. And then you had a hand crank that they would crank off to the left-hand side, I believe it was, to rotate. And after you get that bit in there and it's bit down and you twist it, it's just basically going to turn the lever that's still holding the safety deposit box closed. So you're just basically forcing it closed. I don't know if they shut off the seismic sensors, why they didn't want to use a drill. Maybe it was noise or anything else like this. But they're hand cranking every single one of these to break these locks on these boxes.
If you have to bring in a drill, and the way that they assembled this thing, it was all in pieces when they brought it in.
Yeah.
They made this completely custom. Like you said, it had the bracket, which was basically like a vise to keep it in the exact position that it needed to. I think if you're having to bring in drills, again, we're at 2022 or 2003, battery life, how many batteries are you having to pack in for that?
Good point. Yeah, you'd have to find an outlet if it's corded.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hand crank it is. That's why you bring the monster. That's why you bring the guy with the muscles.
But it didn't take much, apparently, because once this thing went in and they were able to punch through that lock, it was just a jerk, and it basically popped these things. And so probably it would make sense to me that 2 of them are going around fitting this thing, getting in position, popping these, getting them open, and then 2 of the other guys are just going in the boxes and grabbing stuff out. Again, they're in full light. They can see what they're grabbing.
Yeah. They broke open 109 of 189 safety deposit boxes. So they're moving. And like you say...
Leonardo's just chilling in the car.
Well, he says that there was a call that came from inside from Speedy, and I think he had to maybe cover some things up from the evidence that's found later by talking about these calls. Speedy called him when they broke into the door.
Had to go up to the stairs, remember? He couldn't get a signal in the vault, so he had to go up to the window they broke in, so he got a signal.
Ends up calling out to Leo, says, hey, we busted through the door. Now it's safety deposit box cracking time. And Leonardo's like, you got till 5:30 maybe before the sun starts coming up and people start moving, so you better start hustling. They say the day before this break-in happens, and this is just kind of maybe to throw some insurance stuff out there, there was a De Beers delivery that day. And the De Beers delivery that showed up dropped its stash off. Each one of these guys that had purchased from De Beers had these leather cases that were supposed to be filled with diamonds that were then put inside these safety deposit boxes. You're doing a smash and grab, say you're just as soon as you pop that door off, you're sliding out the box, you're dumping it into the bag, you're throwing it back. I'm sure you're going through it because there's going to be less valuable shit in there that's going to take up room in your bags, right?
Well, like the leather pouch that everything is being held in weighs much more than the actual diamonds that are inside the leather pouch. And even just that weight that you're trying to go ahead and save.
Yeah, you may not know. So you're dumping, you're going. They said that, and the pictures are absolutely incredible. It does look like a tornado just hits this place.
Yeah, this was not a clean job. Once they got in here, it was literally smash and grab. There's shit just all over the floor. They said when they walked in there was loose gems. They were stepping on jewelry. They had left a ton of like actual currency and everything because, again, it's not as valuable as these diamonds. And so there's bags just skewed around everywhere. I don't even know. It completely covers the floor.
Everything in the center. You can still see where they were kind of working their ways around the perimeters. But regardless, there was just shit everywhere. And eventually, they end up getting their fill in their bags, probably everything that they could carry, because, again, if you're stealing what would amount to be, they estimated about $100 million worth of diamonds, it's going to get heavy pretty quick. Even though diamonds are small and they're compact, they still eventually will have weight when it's $100 million worth.
Yeah.
Before they end up exiting out of the building, they go ahead and stop by the security office. They pull out the security tapes for February 10th, February 15th, and February 16th. So February 10th, it would potentially be pulling the day that the working order was happening for the genius to come in and set up some of these cameras or whatever he was doing inside the building. We don't know exactly what happened on February 10th because that video was never found.
February 9th, because they had the footage of him coming in. February 10th was the day he must have stayed there and then did all the stuff down there and everything.
That would make sense to me.
Yeah.
And then, of course, February 15th, the night of the break-in, that happens before midnight. February 16th is probably still in being recorded at that point in time. So you steal all that evidence. How are they ever going to know that you even showed up?
Yeah.
Supposedly, Leo says the crew ends up coming out through the same office building. As they come out through the same office building, they throw the bags in the back of the car, the Peugeot that he had rented for some odd... That's where I have an issue with it. We'll talk about it when it comes up. But they rented a Peugeot that he was sitting outside in to where they throw the bags in. They then... It's just the front one. They then all go back and they meet inside of Leonardo's flat that he has in Antwerp.
Yes, they leave separately. I think they all arrived there together. They all got out of the car. They all leave separately, except for basically he's just the guy that's driving the bags back. Well, everyone else kind of scatters to meet back.
Bagman, make sure nobody gets caught doing this. Once they return to the apartment, this is interesting that Leo says this because it kind of points to that, did we get away with this as clean as we thought? He says that him and the monster climbed up to the roof of his apartment building, and they both stood out there and didn't speak to each other for 10 minutes and just listened to the city
to see if sirens or...
Yeah, to see if they could pick up sirens, to see if there were any lights or anything like that. After 10 minutes of complete silence, they high-fived and they ran right back down to start breaking up this loot. And as they're in the apartment building, supposedly they have what all Italians would do to celebrate. Just a big feast. A big, beautiful feast that the monster had gone out a day or two before, and he had purchased a bunch of different stuff. We get these guys eating everything. They had just loads of mozzarella on this receipt. And you'll find out how we know what they found. They got salami. They got baguettes. They got everything that you could need. They even, that you scored real big when you can think that you want to celebrate with cookie butter. Cookie butter is a very finite resource in my house that it's only used when something good happens. Yeah. Because it's so bad for you, but it's so awesome.
And think of cookie butter back in 2003.
Well, in Europe, they had it way before us.
Well, that's true.
But either way, you just
a little champagne. I think they got a little champagne too.
You pull off the heist of a lifetime. You got to celebrate. So these guys have this big feast. Maybe Leonardo makes a sandwich that's a little too big for his eyes, can't finish it all. But the very next day, you got to hoof it outside of Antwerp because the Diamond Center's closed on Saturdays and Sundays. got to make sure that you're out of town before they find out.
You got to
that this is
distance the
happening.
goods and get them far enough away or put them somewhere where they can't track it back.
Yeah. So after the big feast, the very next day, they divided up the loot and the cars just to make it into Italy. They're going back to a place called Brescia, and I believe I mapped it. Brescia is like an hour outside of Turin in Italy, so a suburb maybe potentially very close to Turin. As they're breaking up the loot, they're all taking different cars. I believe some of them are even taking trains to just kind of lessen their chances of being picked up. Leonardo and Speedy take the Peugeot. They throw all of the trash, everything that they can from the apartment that could be tied back to this robbery, or so they think, inside of the Peugeot. And they're hauling ass. Their plan is to make it into France before?
Well, they're heading. Before they decide to like burn the stuff and everything.
They want to make it across the border into France to burn the evidence.
Yeah. So there's a few different things here that I think come into play from the documentary and from the other research. So they're saying that like after they had gotten there that night, or it was maybe that morning before they were all going to go their separate ways and then go meet up again. Leonardo's like, I ended up like taking a shower that morning. And when they were going around throwing stuff away, trying to get rid of evidence, he used one of the bags that was out of the kitchen trash. So there was a commingling of the trash that just a normal residence would have from groceries and all that kind of stuff, combined with a bunch of this stuff that they had pulled out of the safety deposit boxes. When they were going through this stuff, they were basically like, is this paper? Like, is this junk? What did we grab? And getting it just down and condensed to the valuable stuff to then separate and transport it. So all this stuff is what's going to be burned, but now it's mingled in with potential just refuse and everything, even maybe some just personal mail or anything like that. Stuff that ties this evidence directly to this residence.
Maybe an oversight.
And Leonardo's like, I had no idea that they used the kitchen trash to actually do that, because that's where I had been throwing away just the normal apartment stuff.
Yeah, I want to believe him in this, that he didn't know that this is what happened.
If he's the mastermind, he doesn't know. Well, either way, he doesn't know what happens, because if he's meticulously planned this to go off as well as it did, and again, some of this shit is luck as well, but I don't see him being, if he was aware of that, he's like, no, definitely not. Like there's stuff that can tie this all back. And he doesn't expect, though, maybe he's not thinking about it too hard, because he's thinking it's going to get destroyed anyway. I've already picked out a spot that I've scoped out an hour outside, or like right into France, that we'll be able to pull off the road and just torch all of this garbage. So that's the plan now. Regardless, even if it got mixed in, it's going to be destroyed anyway.
It's a good thing that I chose my rock solid buddy Speedy to go on this caper with. I imagine they get down in the Peugeot. Speedy's driving. They're cranking up the Italian tunes. They're ready for a road trip.
Oh, it was Leonardo that was driving.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay. So that even, this must have been a bigger freak out than I was even thinking. Because as they're taking off, Speedy, who I'm sure by all accounts didn't get his nickname from doing things fast and sloppy, or potentially Speed himself, has a minor freak out as they're on the freeway. And he's looking around, realizing that him and Leonardo have less of the jewels and maybe the good stuff and a lot more of the evidence.
Incriminating shit.
that would tie them back. Speedy has such a big freak out that they pull off the E19 motorway, which is the motorway that leads down into France, still in Belgium, outside of Antwerp, still in Belgium, in a small hamlet that's on the way into France.
What's the name of that place? I loved the way they said it.
Yeah, look it up. We're going through it. They pull off on the motorway. They go down a dirt road. They think that this is just basically a spot where everything is safe. In Leo's telling of this story, he spots a shack that is closer down into the woods. He believes he sees movement in it, so Leo says, all right, Speedy, I know you just had a panic attack. I know you freaked out. It would probably be great if you were supervised. I don't want you to come with me, because if there's somebody in the building, you're going to freak out even worse. Sit inside the car, put your hands in your pockets, and don't touch anything. I'll be back in a minute. Leo hoofs it over towards close to the house. He's looking inside the house, doesn't see a lot of movement, doesn't think that there could be anybody inside of it, but it's still, regardless, it's a house along the freeway. He ends up walking back to the car to see Speedy with the back doors of the vehicle open, and he's just hucking bags, throwing stuff. Leo says that as he's pulling bags out of the back, part of the black trash bag ends up getting torn. He goes to throw it. All of the shit that's inside of these trash bags then gets spread all throughout the mud and just everywhere, the trees. And he's like, shit. Can't burn it here in case there's anybody inside the house. Mm-hmm. You've strewn this basically everywhere. So for us to sit here and take the time to collect it and put it in a pile and burn it, it's going to take too long. Let's keep everything that's inside the vehicle. Let's just get the fuck out of here. Maybe everything will be okay. They head back to the motorway, end up heading into France, make it into Italy for the meetup. This meetup is interesting because in Leonardo's telling of it, the four men, Speedy, the genius, the monster, and Leonardo, are supposed to meet Alessandro in this cafe in Italy. Now, this is the first time that we've heard that Alessandro is going to be traveling to Italy. Don't know if that's where he was from. Maybe that's where him and Leonardo had met previously. Either way, they show up. They're going to break up this loot. It's supposed to be Alessandro gets basically his finder's fee to make all this happen. Then they're going to divvy up everything that Alessandro doesn't get between the four of them. Everybody's going to go their merry way, except for Alessandro is MIA.
Oh, no, what?
Alessandro, the alleged mastermind behind this whole entire thing, never shows up to get his portion of the loot. That seems really weird to me. That this guy wouldn't finance this entire operation to build this mock vault, spend 3 years potentially creating this plan and training these guys that don't know each other.
I mean, maybe he's just late.
Could be. He absolutely could be. Either way, he does not show up for it. Now, in the meantime, Monday morning, there's a little bit of conjecture about this. Did you find the name of it?
Nope, I'm still looking.
Okay. There's this gentleman who, unfortunately for the School of Turin, as I guess we can call them now, they did not know was this land that they had pulled off and dumped everything out of was owned by a man named August Van Camp. August Van Camp may have been out that day to walk his weasels. That was the favorite thing that I heard him doing.
He liked him sending him down rabbit holes and everything like that.
Yeah, maybe he was out hunting wabbits with his weasels.
That's right. Wascally weasels.
He pulls up to his land and he's looking around. He's like, shit. Some asshole pulled off the freeway because he didn't want to take his rubbish to the collectors or to the trash place and just went ahead and dumped his bags of crap out here on my land that I'm going to have to clean up. This must not have been the first occurrence of this happening because the police said that they had had multiple calls from Van Camp saying that there was trash strewn on his land that he needed them to take
that was
care
the
of.
spot that like teenager. Well, it was right next to the highway.
Yeah.
Anyway, so people are dumping shit out. And then he had problems with like those pesky kids like on his property or something like that would have drinking parties
Ragers.
or some shit. Yeah.
So he's kicking through some of this stuff and he notices that there's this green shine. There's these green sparkles that are down into the mud on his road. And he's like, well, that's interesting. Walks up to one of the bags of trash doing what you would in this scenario. Anybody that's lived in an apartment and seen somebody just leave a bag of trash in the hallway, I think all kind of knows this, to where you don't get into it, but you kind of thumb around in it to see if maybe you can find some old mail or something with an address so you can pinpoint who's the asshole that left the trash in the hallway. August is digging through and he finds all these little scraps of paper that he starts to lay out. And in the top right corner that he ends up setting up, there is the basically address and name. This is letterhead from the Diamond Center. Now, this is Monday. We flash back to the Diamond Center. Somebody had to have found this by now, right? Somebody had to have realized that this caper had occurred. And of course they did as soon as they walk in and they see that the vault is just absolutely ransacked. They call the police. The detectives end up coming and showing up. As they're standing inside the vault trying to get this figured out, they're like, well, if we can't figure it out, it has to be the security company that's monitoring all these sensors that would know that something was broken, right? To get in.
Yeah, you would think.
So,
but then you would also think that that would have come into play a little bit, when it was being robbed.
Maybe you would have known something a little earlier than Monday morning, hours after the place opens up. So they call the security monitoring center and they say, hey, were there any disturbances over the weekend that they're seeing? And they go, nope, haven't picked up a damn thing on any of these sensors. It shows that the vault is locked and it's safe right now. Nobody's gotten past anything. The detective goes, well, we have a problem then, because I'm standing right in the middle of the vault.
Funny story, haha. And I'm looking at the wide open door.
Yeah, it seems like somebody was in here. You guys have no recollection of this. I can't just be seeing things. There's little small green shiny emeralds that are shining up as I'm walking through this place.
Well, and he also said that when he bent down to kind of pick up some of like the paper shit, that he actually looked at, and one of them said like Antwerp Diamond Center, or had a very clear
August,
cut.
yeah. That's what was up in the top corner of the paper. So we flash back to, as one of the detectives is leaving, he says that before they leave, they actually had to take their shoes off and clean their shoes because of all the stones that had been embedded in the bottom of their shoes.
The place was called Flor d'Ambos.
Flor d'Ambos.
So it was literally, God, it was so hard to find that. It's basically just this little section. It's not a town or anything.
Like a hamlet.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's that. I might be just like
unincorporated.
It was called Flor d'Ambos, where all this evidence ends up being found. They also found, because again, all this stuff is stuffed in. You have plastic, metal, all these little pieces. Part of the thing that got thrown away was part of the device that had them crack into the safe deposit boxes. Yeah. And they're sitting there trying to piece this thing back together. And eventually they do gather either all or most of it enough to put that part to bed and say, how did they get in the safe deposit box? And they're like, well, actually, we just reconstructed this thing that had them pop it pretty easily.
And they say, well, you're sure that was used there? As they're going through the wreckage that's inside of the vault, they're finding these broken bits that were used that were punching the locks. Mm-hmm. So they brought spares of these things, just knowing that the tension on twisting these was going to break the teeth.
Yeah.
So you have a scene where there's little green emeralds shining inside the vault. You have a scene alongside the road where there's little green emeralds shining in the mud. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're potentially starting to put some pieces together. You send the detectives out to go rummage through the trash. You see this note that August has reconstructed that looks a lot like a working order from the Diamond Center that has the business card of the genius, Elio Denorio. His alarm company is the one that's attached inside of this paperwork.
Yeah, you can't register for an actual legitimate business just using the genius.
Yep.
You got to actually use your name.
Well, and now there's the question of, is that something important, or was that something that was pulled out of a safety deposit box and then just accidentally dumped in with the loot?
That's such a good point, because like if you're having, on Leonardo's side, if you're having an alarm system installed in your office, you might keep the working order, the contract, something like that in the box where you're keeping all your other office stuff or stuff pertinent to your business. So yeah, that could definitely find its way from your deposit box that gets broken into the trash. Unless, of course, your deposit box is not one that got broken into.
And it turns out Leonardo's box was never broken into.
Untouched.
They didn't break into any office building, or they didn't break into any offices. Mm-mm. They couldn't have stolen paperwork out of offices.
Yeah, that's so weird. So how would all of the evidence that is pointing toward being created during the actual theft in the vault with this work order that could only have existed in the vault if the safety deposit box would have been broken?
Yeah, just a real, how did that get there? So at this trash scene, we find a couple other things. We find a receipt from a grocery store. It has the time and date of when this purchase was made, so maybe we hold that off for a little bit of a loose end. As they're going through, they find the shell of a videotape. Probably could be something important. Maybe something, a security tape that was missing could be somewhere in this wreckage. They also find a half-eaten salami sandwich. Now, this is a strike currently, as you find this. I'm going to give this point to Leonardo, because what good Italian is going to leave a half-eaten salami sandwich behind?
Is that a point he tried to? Did you use the salami sandwich defense?
That's my logic. You can't. You're a good Italian, man. You can't just leave good.
This wasn't
baguette,
something that they tried to establish in court and been like, "This is a salami sandwich. You're Italian, Your Honor. We rest our case."
Yeah, there's no way he would have left this behind. So they bag all this stuff up, and they're thinking, "Well, shit. If this was all strung along the motorway, maybe we need to send all of the detectives back along the motorway because there's a good chance that some of this material, some of maybe the footage from this video camera was just thrown out along the motorway, right?"
Let's actually call up the police academy, and we're going to actually have all of them. Because it was literally a huge strip. They walked the entire strip because you could start disposing of that stuff as soon as you got out of the city or whatnot. So they're walking along the freeway, all of these like the trainees and everything, and they're actually gathering up actual tape.
Yeah, they're finding videotape
caught in trees and things like that. So they're like, "Oh my God!" The tapes were found with the stuff from the diamond theft. It's obviously got to be important to have something from the diamond theft on it. We got to get this over to somebody that can do it. So there was like a Sony something company there in town that was able to reconstruct the tape, and in a pretty quick time frame and everything, they were able to go and get it back. The investigators get it back. They're like, "Okay, everyone get into the room. Everyone into the room. We're going to go ahead and view this."
How excited are you?
Yeah,
you have the exact crime that you're about to watch unfold in front of you.
You're about to crack this bitch wide open. And, you put the tape in, does the satisfying thing where you put it in a little bit and then it draws it in and it drops down and you get the little click. Then as it plays, you get and it ends up being porn. Which, to me, this makes perfect sense. Now, we kind of had a conversation about this. Are you of the opinion that they had that tape and that's something that they destroyed and threw out the window?
I want to be, but at the same time, if they knew that they were going to burn all the evidence, why would you throw in a red herring for the police? The only reason that you would throw that in is if by some chance the police were going to find it.
Yeah, I think it was just a random person.
Yeah.
Because there is nothing that a scared teenager will do if he thinks that someone's caught him with porn. He's got to destroy those evidence. He's made himself impure on this tape and he feels bad about it. What better way than when your friend is driving down the road, you're just throwing this thing out the door. Never again. Never again.
Yeah. The question that I would have...
Turned around back into town and had to buy new tape.
I can get another one. I just got to get rid of this one for now. I'll let the heat die down on the alleged porno tape. I'll go buy me one later. Yep. If this was an Italian porno, I would lean towards these guys threw it into the trash. If we pop it on and it's just some hairy-chested guy that's just going to town on some little Italian woman, 18 years old, gotta be. It might be them. It might be the School of Turin that did this.
With the connection between the Italian pornography and the salami, you're saying that there are too many ties for this to be perpetrated by Italians?
It would have to be. So, I mean, how dejected... You don't watch the end, right? You don't watch the whole thing just to make sure there wasn't something spliced?
I'm not shitting you. I think you have to. I think you have to say we reviewed all pieces of evidence to make sure that nothing showed anything. There is somebody sitting there fast. First, there's the awkwardness of like that coming on, everyone being like, "What the fuck is this?" And then the guy being like, "I bet it's like, hold on a second," is hitting fast forward and it's just sped up porn at that point. He's like, "It's got to be here, like toward, it's probably, I don't know what the Diamond District, if they're like reusing tapes or what they're doing here." But yeah, I think someone had to go through that whole thing.
There's one guy that his hand just shoots up. He's like, "I know it's going to waste everybody else's time." Yeah. It's going to waste everybody else's time to watch this 37-minute porno. You guys get back to work. Close the door on your way out. I'll sit here and watch it through to make sure that we're not
as many times as I need to make sure that there aren't hidden clues.
He comes out like 7 minutes later. He's like, "Good porno. Couldn't find anything. I finished."
You only watched 7 minutes of it. Yeah.
Just trust me. It doesn't get any better.
You're going to need someone to go back in there and finish it because I only got through 7 minutes of it.
I found the pop shot, 13 minutes and 18 seconds. That's right where I kind of finished up my day on this. Somebody else can go finish it. So, in essence, School of Turin might have just made like the greatest getaway ever.
Yeah.
You're into Italy with what you believe is $100 million worth in diamonds.
And of course, Leonardo knows this trash has been here. He wanted to burn it. He knows this is out there. He's not happy about it. He gets back. He's talking to the other members of the crew, tells them what happens. They're like, so?
Yeah.
Like, we're already down here. We've already got the stuff down here. It was just garbage. There was nothing in there. We made sure there was nothing in there to incriminate, us or anything. And plus, what are they going to do with the sandwich?
Yeah, there's nothing that we can do.
They were probably more offended there was still half a sandwich in there.
You left that behind? He's like, well, you threw out the trash, man. I didn't realize I was keeping that for later.
Did you not see it on the counter?
Yeah. that was going to be my breakfast sandwich.
How do you assume that I was not going to finish that? That's actually on you for thinking that I wouldn't finish the sandwich.
Curse on your family.
Yeah, exactly.
You're out of Belgium. You don't got to go back unless you're trying to cover up your involvement in this.
You have to take your rental car back.
That's where we're going to talk about this.
Okay.
This pisses me off. Why in the world, if you're an elite group of criminals, you're telling me that you couldn't just go nick a car off the street to use? You couldn't just go steal a car that doesn't track back to you? If you're renting a car, you have to put down a credit card.
Yeah.
Like, you have to leave some sort of trail.
Correct. Okay. Couple things.
And you have to return it.
Okay. You do steal a car. And it's a car that's not going to draw any attention. It can't be a shitbox, because if it's parked there, the people are going to be like, it doesn't belong. Mm-hmm. How long before do you steal the car?
Night of.
Okay. You steal it the night of. The car gets reported as missing. That's one more thing that is possibly going to cause you to get pulled over or something to happen.
If he's got a car that he's driving back and forth between Italy and Belgium to get him there to the Diamond Center, take that back to Italy.
Okay, no, I agree with that aspect of it. But again, at that point then, if that car gets captured during that night, a rental car is still going to be tracked the same way, but I don't know how you would think they'd be versed on that. But it's just one other degree of separation. So you're basically making the argument of saying, what's the bigger risk? The rental car or stealing a car and having this cause another complication in the issue in the plan? You
just broke into supposedly one of the most
I know you have.
vaults.
What I'm saying is it's that game of playing what if. So I'm not saying one is more correct than the other, but they decided to go the rental car route.
Do you think that they didn't have a School of Turin member in the rental car realm? And so they didn't have some guy at Hertz that could explain to them how
they could get a discount or had they had. And I don't know why you wouldn't have a guy with Enterprise or something like that. I think part of it as well that they kind of use that is if the car was identified there, even if you couldn't tell someone was in the car or anything like that, and they were like, "What were you doing?" That's my rental car that I left. I left it there. I walked home from the office that night. You also then have the fact that he was already planning on going back to Antwerp to kind of keep up the guise of going there and playing the shocked, like, what do you mean the diamond vault got robbed? And so he was already in a position where he planned on returning the rental car at that point. Yeah.
He's got to keep up appearances. He's got to keep paying rent, doing all that kind of stuff in the Diamond District, not to draw any attention to him. So it was, I believe, they hung out in Brescia for a while, didn't end up going back until Friday, I think was the day that they head back.
So loot's been divvied up at this. You got to assume if they're there for a few days, their sole focus is, let's get this stuff separated. Let's find out what we can dish out right now. Let's make sure there's not sequential bills, in here that we need to go ahead and disperse. Let's start getting information to the people that are going to be fencing this or these other diamond markets in these other countries and start getting them lined up for buyers and finding out how much. Let's move this stuff as quickly as possible. But this stuff is at that point, it's dispersed. It's in the wind. There's no way to track back where it is.
It's in a foreign country.
Yep. When, Leonardo goes back, he's not bringing anything, of course, not bringing anything back with him other than a change of clothes and the rental car. Same thing. He would always come in, nothing different than what he would come with on any other visit.
Maybe that was it. Maybe the rental car, he didn't have a car that he drove, so he could say that he just rented one to go back and forth.
Yeah. And he's setting it up as far as that goes. But
little did they know.
Exactly.
The detectives had so much time.
Yes. Well, what's also crazy is yes, but then also no. From the time, like you're saying, they end up driving down. He ends up going back on Friday. What day was it? How long after?
they discovered the trash and the robbery on the Monday.
Okay, and then he's back, as far as Leonardo, back in Antwerp that Friday. Okay, so they have that time frame to piece together the note and everything, the ties to the actual diamond theft, start to look into how this work order that they found even relates to the Diamond Center and everything, then find out who it's tied to at the Diamond Center, which was, I'm trying to remember Leonardo's company's name. I can't remember what it was.
I don't know if I ever saw it.
But it was a company name that was tied to him. Yeah. And so they were like, well, who's renting this office? It's this. Now let's start looking into this guy. They did all that. And by the time Friday came around, also another added element to this is when Leonardo decided to go back, his wife was like, oh, hey, you're going back to drop off the rental car? You know what? I haven't really seen the apartment that much and everything. We missed out on Valentine's Day. Let's make this a little road trip. We'll go up there. We'll have dinner in France or something like that, and then we'll come home.
I want to make sure you're the only one staying in your apartment in Antwerp. You don't got yourself a little tenderoni on the side.
Exactly. Now, did they take the people with them up there, or did they meet them?
Just 2 friends.
Okay, so they took 2 friends with them. So 4 people now returning back to Antwerp.
4 Europeans in a Peugeot headed back to Antwerp.
So he takes them back to the apartment. His wife's at the apartment. The 2 friends are at the apartment.
I don't know how he did that. How would he remember where his apartment is?
He knew where his apartment was.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, because we're going to talk about something here in a little bit that makes me wonder if he
had been
actually...
going up there for 3 years, dude.
Hey, we got to suspend reality a little bit, remember?
I know, but this is just him bullshitting. You don't have to suspend. This is, you know what he's doing when he does this coming up here.
It's so funny that even in the clutches of the police hands, he's like, oh, I'm going to fuck with him some more.
So ends up dropping them off, going into the office, basically. And as he shows up, because there had been a lot of question asked about Leonardo Notarbartolo, the manager kind of had a sense that this guy was probably the lead suspect. They hadn't been able to discuss why they were looking into him or anything like that. It was just like, what work order is this office tied to? But the manager had kind of a sense about it.
I think they had a great idea because once they figured out Leonardo could be tied into this, they went up into his office and it was just like untouched. There was nothing inside this office. There was no paperwork or anything else. Yeah. So they're like, okay, well, this is weird. Doesn't look like he's doing a lot of business.
Yeah, this looks like an open office. Yeah.
He goes down, he talks to the people in the Diamond Center, and they say, well, can we see the the logbook of who was meeting with him? Turns out they didn't have any records of any diamond sales that he had made while inside the Diamond Center. Yeah. So he didn't even meet with anybody.
Again, 75% of these things are going off the book. So they're like, maybe that's normal.
Yeah, he just didn't know.
We have a whole list of people that actually do no business in this building, but they're still here. So he ends up going in, and as security kind of flags him, the manager sees that he's there. The manager actually comes up to him and is like, "Oh my God, Mr. Notarbartolo, did you hear about what happened? There was a robbery and everything." And he's just like, "Oh my God, what? Is my stuff okay?
I'm just here to get my mail."
Yeah, I'm just here to go ahead and check in to make sure all my office stuff is still there. And as they catch him coming in there, they're calling the, Belgian police and also the investigators. And they rush down there, and Leonardo says he kind of had a feeling that at one point he was being stalled, everything, but he couldn't let on that he knew that because his whole thing was, I have no idea what you guys are talking about as far as this goes. So one of the detectives ends up showing up. He's like, the way he said that he approached it, he was just like, "Hello, Mr. Notarbartolo, I will be arresting you now."
Which that feels very Dutch to me.
Yes, it does.
It feels very matter of fact. We're not going to do anything else.
No fluff. I'm just telling you what I'm doing here. Yeah. So he ends up getting arrested and, of course, is not admitting to anything and gets driven down to the police station first, I believe, right? Oh, is this when the detectives decide to take him directly to his house?
Yeah, the detectives are basically like, all right, we got to go check your apartment. We checked into your office. Your office seems pretty clean, like almost too clean to have had any business done inside of it. Maybe you played a lot of backgammon on your computer, got a lot of solitaire in, but no real business.
I do a lot of lunches outside the office. That's where I do my best dealing.
So you got to take us to your apartment. And this is where Leonardo seems to have a little lapse in memory. He's like, yeah, guys.
Hey, he's scared, man. He just came in, found out that the vault's been broken into. Thank God his stuff had not been touched, but now he's being placed in handcuffs simply for the crime of coming into the office. These guys are like, "Where do you live? Where do you live?" He's like, "Oh my God, I'm so stressed out. I can't remember. I only know by direction, and I can kind of maybe point you guys there. But, despite being here for, 3 years, I don't know the street names or the number."
Which is so goddamn brilliant. Because he knows that eventually they're going to have to go back to the apartment. Mm-hmm. At the same time, he knows who's at the apartment, what's going on at the apartment. Because his wife and the two friends are cleaning the fuck out of this place. Trying to get rid of anything that may have been left behind in their haste. I mean, I'm sure he didn't realize at this point in time that his salami sandwich was gone. So maybe she was there to keep an eye on the salami.
It's true.
She wanted to come keep an eye on his salami. So they're driving around downtown Antwerp, and he's looking around. He's like, this street doesn't look familiar. I usually don't walk around in the dark. I usually come home in the light. So it's kind of obscuring what's going on here.
We can just wait do you guys want to just go chill at the station for a while? We can
start fresh in the morning. Mm-hmm. Perfect. We can have some coffee.
We're all tired.
We'll have a
Obviously,
pastry.
It's been a long few days for you guys. I would know nothing about that.
Yeah, I've just been hanging out in Italy since probably Thursday, the week before. This whole thing's a shock to me. Eventually, he does have to come clean as they're going down the street. He says, yes, it's on this street. The number to the building is such and such. They pull up. They're trying to get the number out of Leonardo as to what his apartment number is so they can go up and check it out. His wife and the two friends happen to be exiting the building. The detectives see this, and you wouldn't say that that's out of the ordinary for people just leaving an apartment building, right? That's what they do. They come in, they go.
They said, the timing on it, they pull up in front of the apartment building. He's like, so which one is it? And he was on the 7th floor, and he kind of is pointing up to the 7th floor. And as they look up, the light goes off, and they just sit there for a few minutes. And then 3 people end up exiting the building. One of them holding a rolled up rug.
Yeah, like a floor rug.
Over his shoulder. No body in it.
No.
But, something weird to be. You're not doing a lot of interior decorating that late.
There was something in it.
Well, yeah.
Something very important in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, they stop these people. Hey, what are you doing? Do you know this weird Italian guy in the back of our police car?
Hey.
Yeah, that guy looks familiar. I've seen him before. Oh, so you know him? Where were you guys at? The 7th floor? Oh, okay. Well,
interesting.
Yeah. What's in the trash bags? What's in the carpet? Why don't you come down to the station? We'll go ahead and throw these cuffs on you. Probably the same thing. I'm arresting you, was what they were told. They get taken down. You
three are now being arrested.
They get taken down to the station. The first thing they do is they unfurl the rug. As soon as they unfurl the rug, they see the same green glinting emeralds that were found out in the mud at August building, or at August land.
Amongst other things, I'm sure. Yeah.
And then they also find that they're the same green emeralds that were found in the vault, strewn all over the ground. So that feels like a pretty good tie-in that you have 3 crime scenes that you can pull together completely at this point in time. I got to think that was probably when Leo knew that this was up, but as any good criminal knows, you don't talk to the investigators.
Yeah.
He's pulled into the office.
Again, he's not a criminal, Adam.
Not yet. Not yet. He gets pulled into the interrogation room. They start asking him questions, and he tells them, I do not want to talk to you. And apparently, once you say, I don't want to talk to you, they legally can't talk to you about any of this stuff. They asked him basically hey, if you want to give us anything, now is going to be the time. And I believe that this was one of the investigators had said this. As they were talking to him about it, they just tried to lean on him one more time, and they said, you know that you stole a bunch of diamonds from some really bad people that do business under the table, right? He's like, yeah, I didn't steal anything. And they go, well, those people will eventually go looking for their diamonds, and you have children at home, and I'm sure if we know that, whoever you stole from will know that as well.
He's like, bad luck for the guy that ended up doing this because it wasn't me.
Yep, still just rock solid, doesn't say a word about it. Everything gets a little kind of, it happens all at once because the same day that they're headed into Antwerp, the detectives have called the police in Italy. Now, there was some talk about how there's no extradition. I don't believe that because there were some guys that were extradited at this point in time. Whatever it was.
You change those laws when you're dealing with Antwerp. Like, be real. You know what Italy likes? Seems like Italy likes diamonds.
Yeah.
It'd be a real shame if you guys were. We made it a little bit harder for you guys to have that enjoyment.
Well, they absolutely could have done it because I guess as they were dealing with what was going on in Antwerp, the Italian police went and raided Leonardo's apartment in Italy. His son was there, wouldn't open the door for him, ends up trying to call his dad. Bad luck. Leonardo's cell phone is on silent as it's ringing in his pocket while he's standing inside the Diamond Center.
Yeah.
Tries calling his mom. His mom's off cleaning an apartment. That seems like she's going to not want to try to attract any attention to her, so she has her phone turned off. The police end up coming in. They open up the safe, and they take pictures of 17 diamonds that were in this safe that all had paperwork that tied them back to Antwerp. Now, they were just there on an arrest warrant for Leonardo. They couldn't get him. They couldn't take any evidence from the house. That safe ends up getting closed up as the Italian police leave. After he's arrested and they go back, all of a sudden somebody had broken in and taken the safe out of the house.
What? No.
What bad timing.
See, I'm telling you, man, this guy's the victim as much of anything.
Bad timing. So in that trash bag that that Leonardo's wife was carrying out of the apartment, they go ahead and they search through that, and they find 2 SIM cards. And these 2 SIM cards were both connected to burners that were used during the robbery. They can corroborate that because the last 3 pings on these SIM cards were pings first at the apartment, at Leonardo's apartment in Belgium. The next ping, they were both pinged on the same tower down at the Diamond Center. And then the next time they pinged was back at the apartment.
And then also when they started to track stuff back, they also found a ping that took place in, what was the name of the town?
Bastia.
They also found another one there. Yeah. I think this now starts kind of coming into play where you run into a situation where the technology that's available to like the law enforcement at the time and everything is a little bit unclear to the people who are actually committing the crimes, because they had that information with his sandwich aside and everything in the trash aside, because that sounds speedy and everything. But had they known that triangulation for those SIM cards could happen to that degree, they'd just be breaking those.
Why didn't you just break them to begin with?
No.
Regardless of knowing, as soon as you leave, you got to get rid of them. You can't just throw them in the trash.
Again, it was going to get burned. I mean, yeah, you could have just burned them separately, but when you're believing that everything in those bags is going to be burned, everything loses its importance because it's all going to get destroyed anyway.
Upon searching his apartment back in Belgium, it turns out that they found the purse with the hole cut out of it. So it became...
That could be... I have sex with that, actually. I fill that thing up with like shaving cream and everything, and then I know it's weird and it's disgusting, but there's no law against it.
What, you guys don't have shit that you like that you don't tell everybody about either? Come on, man. I'll tell you what, you bring it in, I'll show you how it fits.
You bunch of prudes.
I heard you guys were watching porn in here earlier when you were trying to find it.
Yeah, exactly.
Gross Belgians. So as we go through these things, Finotto ends up being... Oh, shit. The last thing that we have to cover is going to be that receipt that they found in the trash that was strewn.
Two things. So another piece that they tied it to, because I think the food thing is the...
Yeah, that was going to be the trial.
Okay. The broom handle. So they were able to... They found it in there. They're like, well, this obviously doesn't belong here. And so they found out like what brand it was, the places in town that sold that, and then went back and had them check certain security footage for the last couple of days to match what the descriptions that they had or they thought of these guys. And one of them matched, and they're like, can you pull up that transaction? And they're like, what did that man buy? And he's like, he bought the broom.
Did the same thing with the receipt at the grocery store. They looked down at all the items. They saw the timestamp on the receipt. They pull up the security footage to match it. It matches this gigantic man named Francisco Finotto. Francisco Finotto, being a man of big stature, was the monster. Caught on CCTV footage buying the cookie butter, buying the salami, buying the baguettes.
The monster's got an appetite, man. What do you want?
Hungry, hungry man. Finotto ends up being arrested in Italy in November 2007. Pretty decent run he had. I mean, that's not... He's off for another 4 years, potentially hiding his money, doing everything else that he can to try to basically cover up his involvement in this. Now, he's going to have trouble covering up the involvement when he finds out that the receipt that they found led to the CCTV footage of him buying the things that they then found in the trash with everything else. He goes away for 5 years.
Circumstantial. Again, this is racist trying to tie these Italians to this salami sandwich using it as such a key piece of evidence. Yeah. But it came in to be used as a key piece of evidence because the first thing they did to Leonardo when they got him in there was to take a DNA sample, which they then matched to the DNA that was found on the half-eaten salami sandwich.
Again, that's profiling. You think that every Italian's DNA is just going to end up on a salami sandwich? Come on. D'Onorio, the genius, was questioned about his work, the working order, while he was in Italy. He admitted that he installed a few cameras, but when it came time for the robbery, he didn't do anything else. It wasn't until they ran some of the tape that they had found covering the light sensors and found his DNA on the tape that directly puts him at the scene of the vault. Tough.
I think I left a roll of my duct tape there, and I guess these sons of bitches actually found it and used it to cover those light sensors.
Yeah. I'm just as mad about this as you guys are, trust me. That working order thing, completely disregard that.
But whoever did this sounds like a genius, just so you know.
D'Onorio ends up getting 5 years. The DNA got him there. Speedy eventually finally gets arrested. He's sent to Belgium. There was evidence that was linking him to the trash that was found strewn everywhere.
The thing that's also funny is the same drive where he ends up, the trash gets scattered and everything like that. A little ways down the road, he ends up being like, hey, you got to let me off. I'm taking a train the rest of the way. And he ends up taking like a train out of Paris or something like that. So after pretty much screwing them over with this trash situation, he then bounces and is like, you know what? I feel like there's going to be some heat on you, so I'm going to go ahead and take another route.
Speedy was in on it for himself the entire time.
Yeah.
He just did not care about anybody else. So all three of these guys end up being convicted and sentenced to 5 years. But that's the issue here, is we have 3 guys sentenced to 5 years. We have Leonardo's sentence coming, but there were 5 guys that committed this problem or committed this heist.
King of Keys is missing.
King of Keys gets off scot-free, never to be seen or heard from again, and we have to this day still never identified who the King of Keys was. Being an older guy, he probably rode off into the sunset, just had himself a grand old time. I personally believe that this guy was never involved. I don't think that there was a King of Keys. I think that this is another fun layer that Leo's just added into the lore of this robbery. Because if you have a lockpicker in the monster, you don't need a key made. If you never use a key to get into the vault, if, say, you had some inside information as to where that key was and you knew that you wouldn't need a key into the vault, King of Keys also really never that important.
Leaning toward the side again where Leonardo was the mastermind. When they went down there and found that the key was there and had made that determination, again, they would have had to make that a long time beforehand.
Yeah.
So there may have had a guy, maybe not the King of Keys, but maybe somebody that could design a key that was one of the other guys or something like that.
Potentially.
But then at the same time to be able to say, okay, they can't, we used their key. So that's what we ended up using. So now I can either, and instead of getting rid of a guy and being like, yeah, there was no locksmith, we just found this one. He had to make it seem like they were already prepared to do that. Like they didn't need to find the one. They would have already had one. I guess it is a way to just maybe kind of keep spreading the blame and also to create another person down there to be like, well, yeah, they had 4 down there, so they didn't need me down there.
And not only that, what's going to eat a detective more than catching 4 of the 5 guys in this crime, and you just can't break the 4 guys to tell you who the King of Keys was.
Yeah.
That'll keep you up at night.
Yeah, not only do you not capture everyone, I mean, you get 4/5 of them maybe.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you have not found any of this, aside from the stuff that's been recovered, from dropped and everything like that, you haven't found the massive bulk of what was taken.
They said that there was I guess another separate set of DNA that they had pulled that they could never match to anybody.
Alessandro.
Yeah, I mean, or it could have been literally anybody else that had been inside that vault for a period of time and touched something else.
Yeah, because especially like you have every person's DNA that works in the Diamond Center on
Not a chance. When it comes to our man, Leonardo, as Chris pointed out, DNA evidence on the salami sandwich matches directly to Leo's a pretty hard thing to shake.
Damning deli evidence.
He ends up being convicted and sentenced to 10 years in 2005. He's paroled in 2009. Has a decent little run till 2011 when there's an arrest warrant that's issued for him for violating parole conditions. One of these parole conditions was that he had some reimbursement that he had to pay back to the victims of this crime. The second one was that he was not allowed to travel outside of the country. He ends up getting picked up in 2013 in the Charles de Gaulle airport, where he's arrested coming from a flight in Los Angeles back to Turin. He was in Los Angeles breaking his parole to try to sell the rights to the heist to a film house. To a production company, yes. So this guy was so confident and so arrogant and couldn't wait on this story any longer that he violated his parole to go try to sell this. What better pitch could you give a company than you're committing a crime to come and try to pitch them this idea right now?
Yeah.
Like it continues the caper off even further. This is how you finish the movie, is him walking into your studio and telling you that he has this story to tell.
I want to say there is a movie that ends like that. It's a mob movie or something like that.
It would just be so perfect. So he ends up being arrested. He has to finish out the rest of his sentence. He's released in 2017. I heard that he owns a little jewelry place now that they make different settings and stuff. Apparently he was really into jewelry and designing and creating things.
Yeah, and he doesn't need to do anything that's going to make him, really rich or anything like that.
I've also heard that he owns his own company making stove pellets. So a little less glamorous.
That's pretty lucrative.
Yeah. But either way, to this day, none of the loot has ever been found. Now, there could be a couple reasons for that. First reason, as Chris alluded to earlier, Leo's cousin may or may not have been the next man up in line for the Capo di Capi of the La Cosa Nostra. Second thing could be Alessandro might have been a little bit more involved in this than we know. This could have been one big giant cover-up for an insurance scam.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in order for that to happen, there's got to be a couple things. To this day, they've never actually found out who Alessandro was either. They've gone through records with this name of who owned places in the Diamond Center. There's nobody Alessandro that's matching this description. But the ploy could have been that Alessandro had talked this crew into going in and hitting the vaults. And this is something that Leonardo has put forward himself, saying that as they were dumping out the De Beers bags and throwing them in the bags, as they returned to the apartment to open them, they realized that they were all empty. And that he was duped, and that he believes that they only got away with about 20 million of the 100 million that they thought that they had. Now, in order for this to happen, Alessandro would have had to have talked everybody in this area into pulling all of their merchandise out of these safety deposit boxes previous to the break-in.
Yeah. There's a couple different layers to that, and it all depends on how many people would have needed to be involved. If, let's say that 5 of those safety deposit boxes were the ones that were dealing with De Beers or something like that, and had the bulk of the money.
Yeah.
He goes to those people and he's like, hey, pull your stuff out. We're going to get in on this. You got to keep it small or else someone's going to end up talking. And Leonardo's crew has no idea. They just think they're going in here to rob this. Yeah. They're not in on it. And when they get down there, so the diamonds go into the vault. There's a record of them going in. Those guys just go down there, put them in a fanny pack or something, take them out. Don't report them as coming out of it or anything. go store them. They said each office had a safe, or a lot of people had safes in their office. They go up there, they just stored in that for the night.
It's almost like your petty diamonds instead of your petty cash on hand.
Yeah, you're walking around diamonds. And then after it gets robbed, basically claiming on insurance, those, 5 guys or however much it was, that you had $50 million each or something like that, or, $10 million of diamonds each, you get paid out for insurance, and then you turn around those diamonds you still have. Well, that's going to be your 75% of the dealing that goes under the table, and you're just going to sell those and double dip.
Yeah, not a bad little plan. Where that plan runs into the wall is that the vault wasn't insured.
Yeah.
The insurance companies that they brought in to try to insure the vault all had looked at this security and said, this isn't good enough. This isn't adequate for the amount of money that you say is going to be stored inside this vault. These aren't enough levels of security.
I think it's a combination of that. And I think we talked about it before we started recording. When the diamonds that came, the rough diamonds, 85% of these things coming through. Rough diamonds, once you don't know what their value is going to be, because you have to cut them down, figure out what's usable and what is just going to be waste.
What polishes nicely, what doesn't.
So you're sitting there thinking, well, on average, a raw stone this size of maybe this color goes for this. But it could be the outlier, that's an average. It could be the outlier where you shave it a little bit and all of a sudden you've got this stone worth, $20 million.
Yeah, we have a 25 carat rock. Can we break this down into 1 carat stones? Will this be a 20 carat stone?
Yep. And it can be like, well, okay, what's the range in which this raw diamond can be? It could be anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 or something like that. When you're claiming that on your insurance, you're going to be like, I had all $40,000 stones in there. Yeah, they were raw diamonds, but they were all going to be, we'd had them looked at and they were going to be the top tier. To go to an insurance company and being like, well, how much do you need? How much is going to be in the safe? Anywhere from this amount to this completely other astronomical amount. They're like, no, we can't. So you're saying that technically everything could be valued at this very low amount. They're like, yeah, but I mean, mostly it's probably going to be up here at this taller amount. Well, insurance company's going to be like, no.
You also have to look at it as actual value versus retail value.
Yeah.
Because as we know, diamonds are actually pretty cheap. But we've put this inflated value on them to mean that retail diamonds can sell for 5 to 10 times the amount of what they were actually purchased for.
Yeah.
So you're insuring on the retail amount for what you could sell it for, which is never a given, or are you going to insure it on the raw purchase amount that you bought it from?
Part of me has me thinking now how you were mentioning that the magnetic seal had been added after. I wonder if it was something to where they were trying to get insurance on it and they came down like, this vault is not going to, it's not going to be insurable based on what it is right now. They're like, what if we put some additional, we'll stick some shit to it and put some additional security on it. They're like, I don't know, man, give it a try and then we'll come back and do an assessment of it and find out.
The guy comes down to take a look at it. He's like, so you made some improvements. Dude goes, how do you know? He goes, I can see the magnets on the outside. Usually people put them on the inside.
Magnetic field, huh? I spotted that walking down the stairs.
You want to know how I can get rid of that pretty quickly? There's a great chance, too, that all of and again, I don't put any weight behind the insurance scam. There's too many layers to it. There would have to be too many people involved. Like you said, it could be less people just based upon what De Beers delivered and to who. But at the same time, you would have to then insure all of that in a matter of a week. That would be tough. And there's no notable insurance companies that have ever said that they've made a payout for anything that was involved.
The other thing too is you're hedging all your bets with this insurance scam that this robbery and this theft is actually going to be able to be pulled off.
Yeah, that's also true.
And are you using or are you using the rationale of well, do you think we're really going to be able to break into this vault? And they're like, well, actually, it should be easy. They won't even insure it. It's not even insurable. So this thing should be a cakewalk.
There also is a very, very high chance that any of these raw diamonds that were taken out of these safety deposit boxes ended up back in the safety deposit boxes.
Yeah.
They ended up being sold back to the same people
with
that lost them.
85% of those things coming through, sometimes that's the only place to send them. And we were talking about, well, when they come in, if they're claiming that they have these raw diamonds, when they find these, like De Beers finds them and gets them out of the mines and everything like that in Africa, they're categorizing every single one of these, weight, shape, color and everything. If they get sent out, they get stolen, they're trying to be turned back in, and especially because they did file probably insurance claims, I'm guessing, these people. And
somebody had to have tried.
But if De Beers is being like, this is what we lost, here are the diamonds, and we've even talked about this before, the underside of that, and like you're even saying they described to Leonardo, these people will do a lot to get this back. These are bad people. That's not individuals. That's corporations as well. They know what's been stolen, and they have their eyes out that if anything pops up on any of their little feelers out there of this type of raw diamond that matches their description and their weight and everything, they're going to go down and take care of it. But if you're somewhere, you're the School of Turin, all you got to do is have a guy that's mediocre at shaping these things, change the shape a little bit.
Even Leonardo himself.
Yeah, change the shape, take a little bit of weight off of it, and all of a sudden what do you mean? This is a completely different diamond.
Yeah, we shaped all these.
There's 100% chance, in my opinion, that some of those diamonds made their way back through.
Diamonds are just a wild ecosystem.
And then there's also the end kicker that one of the like head investigators, one of the two guys that's actually in the documentary, and you find this out at the very end of it. So sorry, spoiler alert. But it's the dude, his first name is Agam. I can't remember exactly. I actually have it.
I think he's the guy with the crazy birthmark on his face.
He's the dude, yeah. He's the dude that has one of the guys is like darker haired, and then the other guy is like a blonde guy. In 2000 and was it 15?
Somewhere around there.
So in 2015, he got popped during an investigation where they found, I want to say it was a couple $100,000 worth of diamonds actually in his residence. And he had used the excuse. He was like, I was actually part of a like sting operation, right? He was like performing some type of sting operation to find out some of the 75% under the table diamond dealing, and that he never intended to sell the diamonds or anything like that. They were simply just being used as part of like a cover operation.
He said that he was using diamonds as leverage against one of his informants to let him in.
That's right.
Which, you and I talked about this after we both watched it, but can you really blame the guy?
No. I
know it's bad. I know he stole, and that's not good. And he's a police officer, so you should be above a normal human being.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I would do this or anything like that, but this is probably the most easy to understand thing about this entire episode for me. Is you have this guy who is one of the lead investigators on this. Yeah, you end up catching the guys that did this, most of them. So you're able to go ahead and hang your hat on that. These guys only get sentenced to 5 years apiece for the three, nickname guys, and then 10 years reduced down to 6, essentially before the, parole violation. You got to feel not good about that. Also, the fact that all this stuff is still missing means that any of these people who lost diamonds here are probably going to you on a consistent basis, being like, where are we at with this? Have you found them? Getting pissed off that you haven't found them and just giving you constant shit. You also now have
a police salary.
Yes, you now have a reputation about, you caught the guys, but technically that's half of it. You got to find the stuff they stole too. So to probably feel pretty underappreciated and probably have taken a lot of backhanded just comments from people that aren't happy that you haven't solved the case completely. And all of a sudden an opportunity rises where they're like, you can go ahead and make some money off this kind of stuff. The people that have been giving you so much shit, you can Robin Hood it for yourself a little bit, take a little bit from them. I'm not saying it's right, but from a human standpoint, I can put myself in that guy's shoes of saying, yeah, like,
you see the moral quandary. You see him break down and cry as he's admitting what he did. He knows it's not right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if he were to sit there and try to explain it perfectly the way that you just did, nobody's going to sit there and be like, oh, yeah, I'm sure that's what it was.
Yeah.
But the true human emotion of it, it's like, yeah, dude, I get it. I understand. You lost your job and that sucks. I'm probably okay if that's your moral choice that you're not a detective anymore.
Well, but he lost his job because of it and everything. Yeah. But at a certain point when you just feel like you're not being compensated, and you're surrounded by just such wealth all the time, and it's probably flaunted in front of you just on a daily basis. You probably do get a little bit of that streak where you're like, I'm going to get back at these fuckers, and none of them are going to miss anything if I take a couple.
And that's what it is. I'm not taking $100,000 at a time. I'm taking a diamond here. I'm taking a diamond there. It's just, it is what it is. I'm not trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. I'm just slipping one in my pocket.
Yeah. Again, not right, but I can understand it. Yeah. But yeah, this is nuts. So all these guys out. All of these guys probably, well off because of how they're able to live. Leonardo, when they were talking to one of the detectives, how they said, like, he's not exactly driving a Ferrari or anything. The other guy was like, it's very smart of him.
Yeah, they know. They know the game. And if you can would you do 10 years in jail, broken up with flying to Hollywood to try to sell your script for $25 million?
It depends on what type of jail or what type of prison it was.
European jail doesn't... a Western European jail doesn't seem like the worst place to be.
No, Eastern European jail would be very bad. Scandinavian jail would be the best. That's like living in an IKEA for a while.
Yeah, that doesn't sound awful
with
at all.
The meatballs included. But yeah,
that's the deal though. In that jail, you have to put together all the furniture in your jail cell. You have to put together your bed.
And if anything, you're just giving these guys 5 years to sit there in their cell and being like, what am I going to fucking buy first? Or am I going to go? The plans that you could make within that 5 year period of what you're going to do once you got out.
Not to mention, that's how the law looked at this. That's how seriously they took $100 million in diamonds being missed.
That's how much they
5
knew
years.
That it was just ridiculous that that's the amount that was being claimed. And also, I kind of mentioned this to you the other day. If you're the legal system in Antwerp and everything, I wonder if you just kind of have this... I mean, you got to be like, well, yeah, the Diamond Center's here, so that gives prestige to our city. But then that place has got to cause a lot of extra work for the police there with all of the escorts from the airport and all of that kind of stuff. They're probably just like, you know what? Let's go ahead and consider the money you guys lost going to, public service for all the escorts and all the road work we got to do to clear the way for you guys to get back and forth from the airport to the Diamond Center.
All the shady shit that you guys do, we'll just go ahead and call it even.
We also know exactly, we also understand that we know what kind of element comes into this town to do business. And the fact that you bring it in here, this is the cost of doing business. You each get 5 years. Bravo for an excellent job. Well done.
You guys get, we'll go ahead and call it 5 years for the $25 million you stole. And all the diamond guys are like, they stole $100 million. Like, we know your business.
Yeah.
We know what's on your books.
That one was fun.
Yeah. These capers are always pretty interesting to dig into. And to have, I think you were exactly right when you said to have the juxtaposition of the Millennium Diamond Heist and just watching these guys try to Hulk smash their way in.
It's the only thing that you need to show the juxtaposition is just like, how did you get access to the diamonds? And you get the guys that were at the Millennium Heist and it's like, so we had like a nail gun and we just bashed the glass with the nail gun. And we took like a sledgehammer and we just beat the shit out of it until it broke and we were able to get the diamonds. They're asking Leonardo, so how did you guys get into the vault? Well, first we had to go ahead and get a specialty alarm guy. We made sure we were able to go ahead and, fool the motion sensors. We had to remove and try to bypass an electronic lock. It's just, yeah.
Night and day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure if you put them in the two different situations, there's a good chance that the School of Turin might have gotten away with the Millennium Diamond Heist.
Oh, yeah.
Zero chance the Millennium crew gets away with the Antwerp Diamond Heist.
Yeah, exactly.
They get stalled out as they're trying to figure out how to get the JBC or the JBL, whatever it was, past those pylons. Like, that's their sticking point to even get close.
The seismic sensors catch them, as even if they get down there, they try to drill through it, yeah. All right, man. Got anything else?
No, this is a good week. This is good study.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks for joining us for another episode, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us for another episode. If you like what you heard, hit that subscribe and like button. Follow us. If you didn't like what you heard, still hit that anyway, because we'll probably cover something in the future that you do like. Please follow us on our social media. Adam, hit them with it.
Our Instagram is historically high pod, historically high pod, and we are on Twitter at
historically high. That's historically HI.
All right. And if you guys want to send in any feedback, suggestions, hit us up on those two, or you can even do it on Gmail. It's historicallyhighpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again.
Peace.